What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Bless. I got to the left of me the homie Lemme Kno, and this is the M.O.T podcast. Right now in the building, please welcome Mr. Shapiro, a.k.a. the founder of Vintage Frames. Introduce yourself to the people.
What's up? What's up? Just got off a flight from WrestleMania.
Yes.
See you two fucking guys in a dark room with Adam and some...
It's that kind of party, brother.
Some wine.
How you feeling? You tired?
I mean, you know, I'm a little fatter than I was when we first met.
Long weekend.
It's a fucking long flight up here, a couple wheezing motions. You know how it is, you know?
I definitely know how it is. Where was WrestleMania?
It was in New Jersey.
In Jersey.
I don't even think I've ever been to New Jersey.
Really?
Let alone WrestleMania, yeah.
The Meadowlands, right? Where the Giants play. Not your
You know, I don't even know.
What do you have
man.
business in Jersey?
I got it.
Maybe a hotel room back in the day in Jersey.
Yeah,
No?
I got out of an Uber, went into another car, and then it was
Jersey's
just,
weird. It looks like a giant, never-ending Saint Jacques.
Yeah.
In the 80s.
Yeah.
Right?
And this place that I went was like, you know, to meet up with everyone was like the weirdest spot. We went to my buddy Food God's mom's house, who like has this kind of dope spot in Jersey, and like this building kind of looks like a Holiday Inn, but inside it's like this mad like Russian mobster looking fucking place. Yeah, it was kind of ill.
Oh yeah, Jersey doesn't play. Jersey
No.
definitely is the armpit of the tri-state area. It's definitely a grimy
Definitely an interesting place.
place.
What was going on in WrestleMania? Oh, tell me. I saw pictures today of Ric
WrestleMania?
Flair
Yeah,
and
so-
The Undertaker.
We were invited by Ric Flair and his wife.
Okay.
And apparently his daughter is a wrestler.
Okay.
And apparently she was the main event.
First time ever. Female main event.
Yeah, you know, I really thought that wrestling was over 15 years ago. So
There's
and
been a
it's-
major resurgence in the last couple of years of
yeah,
wrestling.
it's like
It's a whole other
very
game.
much not, and people take it very seriously, and I don't take anything seriously, nor do I know any of the people. So we had to hang out backstage, but it wasn't like, you know, it wasn't like a hip hop concert. I was with Peter Rosenberg. You know, he covers the whole shit.
Oh,
for
yeah.
for ESPN.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, it's not like Summer Jam, and there's like all these, there's no cameras, and there's no like weirdos who try to make it seem like they're more important than the next.
Right.
So it was really
they used to do
interesting.
Summer Jam there. Way back.
I don't know.
Way
I
back
went
in the
with
day. they
Ross,
used to
I
do.
went with Ross once, but I don't remember where it was. But it was like all these people coming up to the guys that I was with, and I don't know who the
Well, you're with the
fuck
legend of
are.
legends. You're with Michael Jordan of wrestling.
Yeah, we
You're
were with
setting the
him,
ring.
and we were with Sergeant something.
Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah, Slaughter, who looked like a rapist.
But you remember Sergeant Slaughter from the 80s. We were kids.
not
Sergeant
really,
Slaughter
like
was a big
not
deal.
that much, you know.
You were never into wrestling when we were like in elementary school and shit?
Kept
I
with
mean,
the
got
trend.
into
like
wrestling?
I might have been, but not like the Ultimate Warrior's dead. Hogan, I know.
His wife's a big deal. His wife does all the charity stuff for the WWE.
Yeah,
she's a big
apparently.
deal.
And it was like weird because they had this weird vibe. They had like an induction the night before, and some fan ran up on the ring and just like nailed out the Hitman Hart
Yeah,
or whatever. his
took
name-
out Bret
Just
Hart.
took him out, like out of nowhere,
there'd be
right?
security, right?
Yeah, and
Oh, like this wasn't staged. This
no,
was
no,
a
no.
real,
This was like
well,
real.
weird
No, no,
old-
it was not.
But wait,
Not-
Vincent and Brett go back. I'm
No.
thinking this is like him in his office.
This was not
laughing.
staged, and the whole place was like mad up in arms, like as if you were going into a hip hop show and they were checking you for gats. But it was because people were worried that
That's
he was going to
unfair.
get tackled, and then you got to think to yourself, what type of fucked up world does a wrestler get tackled like that? Like it's fucking weird,
Fucking
you know?
amazing.
So like
That's
everyone
amazing.
everyone was like kind of up in arms and the whole thing, and
That was the big thing of the weekend was Bret Hart getting tackled, right?
yeah, well, so that was the big thing, and all I want to do is have a drink because I'm incredibly uncomfortable. I don't know where the fuck we are, and I
Big,
didn't.
like
Well, and here's
testosterone
the-
engaged men.
Yeah,
They
here's
wanna
the best,
talk
and
to you,
like you know, I'm a big dude, and these guys are like giants,
Right.
And my boy who owns Chalkline, he's like, if you're going, let me send you with a Chalkline jacket. So I'm like, cool, of course. So I'm wearing a $1 Million Man jacket. Him, I remember, but I don't know that I'm really hanging out backstage, and it's really not that cool to hang out backstage with like another wrestler thing.
Depends
So
who you are. I mean,
no, it wasn't. It was
awkward.
not. And I'm wearing, you know, and I have all my chains and my rings, and
I
look,
think you're a wrestler.
yeah, and I look really out of place, like completely out of
look like
place.
a
And I don't know who
character, though,
any of them are.
You look like
yeah.
the manager of one of the wrestlers.
Bro,
well,
so-
this is what I'm thinking is you look like a character that someone created almost.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. Like you go out, you want to like you show off a little bit, I see you.
So
and these guys are probably toned down backstage. They're like,
yeah, they're all friends too,
Right?
you know. So the whole
it's a
thing's like,
circuit.
yeah, the whole thing's a racket, and so I'm so uncomfortable, and I'm like, fuck, all I want to do is have like a drink. So I'm like, you know, where can I get a drink? And they keep on sending me to these stations that have water or diet sodas, and I'm like, well, I'm not 90 and I'd like a real drink, but I don't have my credentials yet, so I can't even go out because then I'm fucked. I don't have my
they won't let
tickets
you
yet.
back in.
I'm like, oh my God. So I finally get my credentials, get my tickets, go to my seat. I have really great seats, and I finally find a line where it's not like asinine to get drinks. I'm holding 2 drinks, and it's in the middle of a match, and all of a sudden a fucking guy gets thrown. Drinks all over me. Like, I'm like, fuck. I'm leaving this shit, you know? So I got out of there.
it
And
was,
then,
it was part of the
yeah,
the
they were like
match?
fighting. Yeah.
It was backstage or wherever you were. It wasn't like a separate fight.
No, it wasn't backstage. It was like I was like in the first
concession
couple
stand,
rows.
right?
No, I was in like, it was part of the wrestling thing.
Okay.
So I don't even know who the guys were. But anyways, point being, I lived through WrestleMania, took off my jacket, got my pants a little wet, and bought my kids some toys and came home to see you in a dark room with Bless drinking red
Coming
wine.
Back to that, right? No, you know
He's
what?
setting the mood well.
I know.
The dark room is to set a vibe, right? It's an aesthetic thing.
Sure.
We actually brightened it up a little bit for you.
And the red wine is for rape.
The red one's for Ron.
He's getting real Cosby-esque.
Not that kind of party, gentlemen. Corey, let me ask you something.
Yes.
We haven't spoken in a little while.
Yes.
For all the little boys and girls out there.
Yes.
How did you figure this one out?
Figure what out? How to get here?
People know you.
GPS.
Right. No, people know you as the sunglass guy.
Sunglass guy.
And I want to know where that started because I don't
The
know
evolution.
personally. Yeah.
How did you find your
I'm
niche
curious.
being more in the eyewear finally? Because I know, as you know, obviously we're old friends. I saw you, try your hand at many different things as a young hustler, as a young entrepreneur. And I remember, personally when you fell onto the whole eyewear thing.
Yeah.
But maybe explain to them, how you got involved in fashion, streetwear, hip hop, and then it evolved into what it did, obviously.
So I guess, fashion was always something I was interested in, obviously. Went to LaSalle College for like a brief amount of time.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I went there for about a year and a half until they kicked me out with my diploma because the company that I had at the time was surpassed their curriculum. So they didn't really want me to be there because I was always talking shit about them in the media and it was new and I was like too aggressive for the school. So I left there and it was right around the time when I guess the first album came out and started Urban Freakout, which was my brand. And it was kind of like a play on this like jokey attitude. And actually the first guy to design the Urban Freakout logos was Jound. And Jound now Jound and did Bryn Trill and, works with Kanye's whole camp and shit like that.
Oh, cool.
Not that it's the same aesthetic in any way, shape, or form. So we did that, and that was, you either needed really big backing for sunglasses, or for clothing.
Any type of fashion, really.
I mean, for certain things, if you were doing production, right? So that was one of the things. And then having such close ties to the music thing, through various different people, places and things, I was able to do product placement very easily. And since I had the connections of the more upper life of fashion, and at the time, we were all seen as like not a lower life, but we weren't seen at the same level. You weren't having us necessarily walk into into more luxury boardroom. Like we walk into Echo or shit like that.
I was just going to say, I feel like we both learned a lot from the Echo business model at the time.
Yeah.
Being so young and Echo, Lemmy, I don't know if you remember, but they were so active when it came to like hip hop culture, and they were really into sponsoring local artists and events and all of that. And, for those who don't know our background, me and Cory met when we were very young through a mutual friend, which is a very crazy long story. And a cat that was kind of a distant relative of yours.
Yeah.
Who ended up passing away, God bless him, put me and Cory in contact.
Yeah.
And he was like, yo, you need to meet this kid.
Fucking
I think you
weird.
guys, that's a podcast unto itself.
Fucking weird.
An unbelievable story. But, he introduced me and Cory, and then Cory ended up doing like all of our merch because he already was rolling with his t-shirt line. And then I watched Cory open a sneaker store.
Yeah, we did Sneaker Freaker.
Sneakers were first?
Yeah,
Sneakers were after t-shirts.
Sneaker was second, and Sneaker I opened with a partner who I thought had a sneaker plug. It turned out he didn't, and the problem with it all was from a business standpoint. In the sneaker store, we were definitely the first. Like we were before Goodfoot and any of that type of stuff.
Really?
From like a real collectible, sneaker world. We had a pioneering store. We didn't make any money with the store, but the problem was whenever, let's say, we'd sell through a whole size run, someone would come in with a 12, we'd only have a 9. So our profit was always tied up in the thing that we couldn't sell.
Yeah.
So that was impossible. And even, a really well-poised business guy like Matt George, who opened Goodfoot, he had to close his doors because it was almost impossible. And these companies were forcing you to carry so much shit that like...
And there's no giving it back if they don't sell kind of thing. It's like, this is dead stock now.
I mean, as far as from the Canadian side, no. In the American side, there's a little bit more like play for that shit. So I had the sneaker store and we couldn't make rent. We just couldn't make rent. The concept was brilliant. We could not make fucking rent.
And it might have been before its time as well, right?
It was 100%.
It was definitely before its time.
There was no question about it. If we were 10 years later, it would have been awesome. We would have been late to the party, but the store would have been financially viable.
Plus, we were early sneakerheads, and people looked at us like aliens.
Yeah.
People looked at us like, okay, you guys are mentally ill.
Yeah.
You're packing up your apartments with fucking dusty shoe boxes.
Yeah.
And we were so passionate about it. We were living life. Like, we were like, yeah, we're crazy. We'll take
The
another
game's changed now. Now everyone and their grandma is a
but
sneaker
we also
collector.
had, it was at coming into it, like when the album was coming out, you had to have either connections in different cities or you had to be on tour.
Of course.
There was no other way around it. There wasn't an eBay, and like that sneaker culture portion of it was just coming to fruition.
Yeah, and Cory would come with us, often when we would tour or go to Toronto or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And then what we would do in the daytime
His
is
shop.
we would expand our network by going to the local sneaker spots, introducing ourselves, inviting them to the show. They would bless us with some gear. We would, you know what I mean? And that was the whole sense
And no
of community.
social media, right?
Yeah. That was
you had
our
to be in the
social
streets
media.
doing it.
That was our
So
social
we
media.
had this store, and on Friday and Saturday nights, we had to throw after hours there because it was the only way we could make money. And
remember.
we would run these illegal bars, and we had
Gambling, maybe?
no gambling. No. It was
Just
absolute
crap
like a
table
loft
back
party
then?
in the store.
Like people were smoking weed and it was fine. We weren't selling drugs.
Okay.
And we were just selling bars, and whoever was like happened to have been there would be the bartender, and they would make money, and it would be awesome. And I was so savvy with the police that I could convince the police that, well, what are you doing here? Well, we're trying to market the store, and all the people that we want to market the store to, they're only here after hours because they're all people that are in nightlife and whatever. So the police were totally cool with it, and they would come through and whatever. And so we did this, and it got like a little bit shaky. And then one day, because it was this stairwell, I walked into the stairwell and I smelled something that I was very unfamiliar with, and I saw someone smoking crack in the stairwell of my store, and I was like,
God damn it, why you got to bring the story up, Cory?
But I turned
I told you I
to my
stopped
partner
smoking.
and I'm like, that's where I sign out of this. So I'm out.
Where was the store?
It was on Saint Laurent. It was on top of. It was like Saint Laurent, Prince Arthur. It was a second floor store.
It's kind of near where the store Dime is now upstairs.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
It was around there.
To the left of it. So Dime used to be Space FB.
Yes.
And we would just be out there picking. I mean, it was like a fucking field day. He would hire for first interview for Space FB. We would take them upstairs for second interview. It was incredible.
Okay.
But we made absolutely no money, like just none. And so, the fault of this whole thing was that there was always sizes, capital, since everything was self-financed from me. So it was like a bit of a weird thing. And, going through the whole fashion thing, the one thing, like a couple things actually, I believe that in a business that the most important thing is the exit plan. So
Smart.
from a glasses standpoint, let's say glasses weren't cool tomorrow, people still need them for medical. Mm-hmm. So you always have an exit. There's always a value to it.
You can liquidate stock like
100%.
for eyewear.
Yeah, or you could grab a dude who, or a chick who's an optometrist, an optician, put them into like a low end space and just have them bang out prescriptions all day.
Yeah.
So that was one. The other thing was eyewear was not fun anymore. So they went through this whole period of like 70s and 80s and, even 90s in the early periods. But eyewear was fun.
And then it became like those little like rectangle glasses that everyone had.
Then it became like back
Douchey
to a
almost.
medical need.
Yeah, it became douchey almost.
Yeah.
Like only douchebags were wearing glasses before the
the
reflip
resurgence.
came, yeah.
So there was that. And then the other interesting thing was there was no life behind the glass. So there was just the glass. And the interesting thing about the eyewear, and from what I saw from the people that I was selling to, a lot of the time were like drug dealer dudes and artists and shit like that. And they would put on this pair of glasses and assume a personality. So they might have not been as comfortable as they were to wear that glass. It might have been a statement, but they could walk into a room with that statement, play that card, and then if they got uncomfortable, they could take it off. So they could revert back to their like human form. Right. And I thought that was so interesting that it would allow a barrier between your eyes and someone else. So I kind of created this whole culture behind it. And the other thing from being a collector.
Before you keep moving on that one, but I always found that was like, it wasn't just douchebags that wore their sunglasses indoors. No. It was people that want to create that barrier. I mean, if you look at...
Well, I mean, ultimately, I'm joking when I say douchebag, but ultimately that's what it comes from. I think a lot of artists too, who might have been a little shy performing, put on the glasses. They don't have to make that eye contact. They could just run through the set. You know?
And as people, and even with artists, as people do 2-3 shows and after parties and promo runs every night, their eyes look fucked up.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's the reality.
Yeah.
So that was a very, interesting thing to explore. And if you looked factually, there was no historical relevance with eyewear other than the medical. So you could pinpoint anything in the medical history, but you could never find anything about the fashion. So, I figured to use the sneaker techniques of buying the dead stock, but let's approach these
influencers.
No, not even.
I thought you were talking about getting them to like the hands.
No, it was purchasing. The purchasing was the key because for the first 5 years I stayed off the internet. And the card, my idea was at the time, the company wasn't originally called Vintage Frames. It was called the company formerly known as. And it was a black card, and it had a flash print on it. On the front said the company formerly known as, and on the back it was just a number. And the idea was that it would allow me to be very like inconspicuous when I wanted to go and buy glasses.
My business card is literally Let Me Know with a number.
But for me, because I didn't want to be flashy walking into an optician buying their old stock or wherever I was going. So I would go in looking like, you came with me to Florida once.
I was just going to say, we have a great story. We'll get into that.
So that was the play. So it was like walking in with your pockets empty. No, there was no trace of me on the internet.
Playing the schlep. Because basically, Cory's whole game, which I agree with, which was really smart, was he doesn't want to look like he's hot to buy their stock.
Yeah.
He wants to look like he's doing them a favor.
Yeah,
look,
exactly.
these are glasses from the 80s.
Like, bro, what the fuck is this? I'll take a shot,
we'll give you $50 for the name brand, $5 for the...
Right.
And he was great at that. I definitely give him his credit for that. And we went on a little vacation / buying trip back in the day to Miami.
Florida.
We had a blast. And... I'll give it to him. It was a hustle. He was, looking in the old phone books. We were going out into the hood, going to like Cuban optometrists, and they looked at us like we're crazy. What, you want to go in our dirty stock room and go through those dusty boxes? Yeah.
Smart though.
We'll give you a package price.
Yeah, the interesting thing was, so at the time, Montreal being the scam capital of the world, that was around the time where the telemarketing offices were no longer sustainable. So everyone who quasi made money or spent money on these telemarketing, whatever they were doing, they were all out of business. But there was people who were used to being
in a telemarketing room with you. It just hit me right now.
Probably.
Neither of us worked there, but it's okay. It just hit me near Capoli. You remember?
I don't
You put me there. Anyways, keep going.
Oh yeah, I remember. So anyway,
just hit me. Go.
So you had all these people who were actually skilled on the phone. So why not take them, because now they're out of work and pretty much retarded. Let's put them into a room where they're beating down my leads, calling these shops and getting the information. They're already skilled at it. I could train them the keywords the same way that you would in telemarketing. So they would be able to get me my leads. And then I want to go out and do these things. And at the same time, American Express released the black card. And everybody had, well, not everybody, but everyone who was in a community that I wanted to sell to, or in my mind that I wanted to sell to, had a black card. So I became the kid going to people and giving them this black card. So it didn't matter who the fuck it was. I would go up to them, here's my card, because at the time, business cards were needed, and obviously they're not anymore. And as soon as someone would ask me, it didn't matter who the fuck it was, what I did or what it was, I would politely take it back for them and say, I'm so sorry, it's not for you. And that was the play. So that was the pitch.
Create
that create the own demand. Yeah. And then, so coming from like a real collectible past, because I always used to do stuff with collectibles, whether it was like baseball cards or magic cards or whatever commodity I could actually get my hands on, was how I used to, make money. And the one thing that remained kind of the constant was in all of these different niches, there was something called a Beckett guide, which was a price guide. Right. And the price guide was the one that dictated the prices, the high, the medium, and the low. Mm-hmm. And without this price guide, the whole industry didn't exist. So my thought was, well, what if not only we control the stock, but what if we're the price guide? And if we're the price guide, and then we can, play with prices based on who the people are that we work with, use it like that, it's a win-win situation.
You control the whole industry.
We are the industry.
Yeah.
Then coin the name, and register the name Vintage Frames. You're Kleenex. So now you're the Kleenex, you're the black card, you're the whole thing. And you have a commodity that you can invest in, and you could change the prices single-handedly. So you don't have to wait for the Beckett guide to come out. You could produce it, right? Pretty much. Mm-hmm. And that was the whole idea of it. And it just kind of steamrolled through
once
everyone.
You had the Beckett, which
once
you created your own Beckett. That's what I'm saying. Once you created it.
Then you were creating your own market value.
How did eBay affect your business when ultimately it became more and more popular and stylish?
We started with selling on eBay.
No, I remember that. But once other people obviously try and get into the game, did that fluctuate?
Didn't at all.
No.
Because there was the same way that StockX exists now. Mm-hmm. There's a uncertainty of authenticity in general.
So your name's trusted at this point, and
exactly.
You're good.
So let's say someone's $100 cheaper than me on eBay. Are you going to get the good? Is it really in that condition? Is it really what they say it is?
From China.
Have you seen the fucking lenses? Like, it didn't matter.
Are you going to get a broken, curved up, fucked up pair?
And at the end of the day, there's always going to be a discount business versus a premium business.
Sure.
Sometimes they're going to collide. It's however you decide to kind of navigate through that. So that didn't really affect it. It just kind of played hand in hand with it. Mm-hmm. And then worked with Cazal and a bunch of brands to kind of
That's what I was going to ask is, do you have, once you got to the level where you were dictating the prices, where you had an established, let's call it clientele, were you able to get personal relationships with these brands?
For sure.
Is that something that you wanted initially? Is that...
Well, I think that's something that we touched on earlier, that we both learned a lot from that Echo business model, which is really being in the trenches. Really being in the trenches and being able to connect with artists. And that's what I think was a strength of Cory's, that he was able to develop personal relationships.
Rick Ross back in the day. They were talking 10 years ago at least.
Yeah, but now, Ross, right? Ross was a great one. Ross came out with a cover on XXL, wearing a pair of glasses.
Wearing your glasses.
Yeah. And it was actually a glass that I'd sold to someone, and it got sold to him. And I didn't know Ross. And there was an email to send beats. And I was sitting at Claremont. I remember to a T. I was sitting in Claremont eating lunch, and I bought this book because someone brought it to me that he was wearing the glasses on the cover. And there was an email to send the beats. And I was like, you know what?
Why not?
I was like, let's try this out. So I wrote him an email. And to this day, I have the email. And the tagline was, how can you be a boss if you're getting fucked on your glasses? And I was like,
piss him off a little bit.
And I was like, yo, I was like, if you really want, if you really want the plug, get at me.
Right.
In not even 15 minutes, I got a call from Poochie, who was managing him at the time, and Spiff, and they're like, yo, hold for Ross. And Ross was like, he's like, what's up?
Yeah, what do you
I was
say?
I don't know, man. What's up, dude? I'm like, how can you be the glasses, dude, if you don't even have the plug like that? Mm-hmm. He's like, who are you? I explained that. He's like, cool, let's go Miami tomorrow, son. I'm like, all right, well, now my money definitely got to be where my mouth is. Mm-hmm. And then that was it. So I was out to Miami. And then
once you get on that plane, it could be game changer.
Yeah. So, and I worked with Ross for many years.
Right.
And still do, and he's still a good friend. He's taken a more elevated business position versus being just a musician, which is kind of interesting because some of the industries that we work in kind of dabble together.
He has so many businesses. It's crazy.
Yeah, he does. And he's
wing shop and the hair supplies he's pushing.
So the hair
he's
thing.
smart because everybody fizzles when it comes to being the new hottest thing in music.
Exactly. And he doesn't, he makes his residuals or whatever off Meek and, whenever Wale puts out something.
Great.
Which is great.
I saw something recently. I was watching a Baby and Juvenile music video that came out probably in the last couple of weeks. I sent it to a buddy of mine. I'm like, it's good to know that this kind of music still exists. And he screenshotted your face in like a gold statue in the middle of the music video. It's like Juvenile, Baby. It's a song that came out maybe 2-3 weeks ago. And it's like a white pillar.
Of me in it?
And like your vintage frame, that statuesque look.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's fucking Cory.
Yeah, my shit.
You know
my
what I'm
shit's
talking
everywhere.
about?
I haven't seen the video.
Okay, it's like maybe 2-3 weeks old, and like someone pointed out to me, I was sharing the music.
I don't even watch music videos and shit anymore. Even though like I might be in them or selling glasses or whatever.
You don't even know this one. Fair enough.
I'm so focused on what I wanted to do. So this glasses business exploded with a lot of hard work, a lot of travel. But again, you have same obstacles. The obstacles are what happens if the stock runs out.
That was my next question.
Yeah, so we stock 1.2 million units, which in all fairness, if we sell them all, there's no need to replenish.
And how many locations right now?
So, I'll get to that in a sec because it's like a bit different. So that was one of the things. The other thing was what happens when you see something in a music video and or a People magazine or on a Kardashian or whatever the fuck it might be. So how do you know that they're from me? You know that I'm the purveyor of these things and most probably they're from me, but how do you coin it? Mm-hmm. So did a little bit of research and realized that there was a specialty way to do lenses, which were kind of just for film. And I figured why not make it easier for the clientele to wear glasses and actually have pictures taken of them in a social media age, right?
Yeah, of course.
Let's have the glasses reflect the light so that people don't see their eyes. Let's make it easy for them to see at night and during the day. So, hopefully they won't lose the glasses, but hopefully they will. And let's kind of change the base curves around. So I developed this technique to do my glasses, which was more towards movies, music videos, shit like that. And we developed this thing called a multi-flash where it's like 13 colors in one, and it's like this very backwards way of doing lenses, which now has become not common, but heavily copied. Not copied to the way where it's exactly what we do, but people are like kind of catching on. As they're catching on, we're already out of that color and we're onto something new. So now we were taking these glasses and putting our own lenses in them. And so that way it was actually that as soon as you would see them move, you would know that 100% they were ours. So that helped it. And then that exploded.
And what's that technique called? What kind of lens is that?
So it's a multi-flash, and we use different base curves for it. Cool. Or like we put on flash golds, and we just do these really interesting colorations which come from a point that's or come from a perspective that's not an optical perspective. Yeah. So I don't know,
And these lenses, when you're putting them on $1,000 frames, is that depreciated in any way? Is that like a signed baseball card where it goes down? No,
at all, because glasses.
It's about the frame.
Yeah, and they were meant to put your lens.
It's never
in.
about the lens though. The original lens is like I'm thinking of a Rolex. You touch it and now it's it's not a Rolex.
Yeah, but maybe it was optical. Maybe it was this. It was gonna have to be changed anyway.
Yeah, because so they were never really glasses really come with dummy lenses, and now they come with better lenses in them. But the point of it is to personalize it because you're putting it on your eyes, right? So let's say the stock lens in it is like a jet black. I can't see with a jet black lens. So it's really great to have the fucking lens, but I can't see balls, So I'm not going to wear it.
Plus, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you're doing gradients and different stuff that you were always doing, it makes it a little less awkward to wear it in the club, makes it easier to wear at night.
That was a whole other thing.
It's more of a 24/7 functional.
So I don't wear dark glasses. It's just not. It just hurts my eyes, We don't really sell dark glasses. We do if you want them, but we try to steer away. Look at that wine. I love that.
Siam.
Diet soda.
It's incredible, and I'm drinking this. I'm probably going to have to piss 9 times between this whole thing. It was like the old man show. Right. So anyways,
sometimes I feel like that. It's okay.
We developed these lenses, and that was cool. Skyrocketed the business into a different place. But then we have, we have to look at actually, my accountant arrogantly said to me, he's like, do you want to have a business that pays for your lifestyle, or do you want to have a business? And, and that's also the same thing, asking someone, do you want to be rich or do you want to be wealthy? And so you, even though you live in a different part of it or come from a different part because you're from West Island, we're from Côte Saint-Luc. And in Côte Saint-Luc, where we grew up, most of the people are successors of their parents' companies, as they are in Dollard. And
I didn't get that one. I never got blessed with that one.
The three of us.
Neither did I.
Yeah, but we all come from that.
Probably wouldn't be sitting on this couch if I did.
But that's the reality. And so, to me, these kids are just moronic. So there becomes a whole kilter when you have kids. If you want to go that way, you want to have kids that, or at least in my mind, that can make the choices that they want to and not have to make harsh choices like we did at points to be able to get
made that jump. You made that jump.
I definitely did.
Yeah,
no question
very
about
few
it.
people get to make that jump. Yeah. That class
and I have,
jump.
and I'm not trying
for that.
I'm not trying to preach it or anything.
No,
There's nothing wrong with it. But if someone would have offered me the platform to do what I wanted to do, but still do it on my own, I think it would have been a lot less of a rocky ride on the way up, which is fine. I might not have had the same
grind. I mean,
but I don't think had you done it a different way, it wouldn't have been possible for you to reach any sort of tangible thing, because it would have always been steered in a more traditional way of approaching it.
I don't know that it would have been, because my parents are pretty liberal, right? I don't know that it would have been traditional so much as I would have a little bit more comfort in doing what I wanted to do.
Security.
Yeah. Well, it's not even the security. It's at least knowing that like there could be a meal tomorrow.
Yeah.
I lived on my own when I was 16, 15 and a half, whatever it was. I was the first to have an apartment. Like that was insane. Yeah. And if I didn't
ever smoked a hash joint.
Yeah. And if I didn't have money to eat, I wasn't eating. There wasn't,
And I feel like that actually takes me to a great point that, this business, whether it's music, fashion, entertainment, influencer, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors. Yeah, so people are always left asking, the question of, how did this take shape? And I think a lot of people don't realize something that I definitely do give you credit for, is that I watched you find your niche.
Come from nothing.
That glasses were not your first attempt. No. It was the t-shirts, then the sneakers, then the vintage eyewear, then curating, then selling, then social media, so takes us to your current business model.
Bless, that's a big misconception, is that people think that you jump into it and like you're successful.
So my question is this: how long did it take you as a young entrepreneur to get from basically just starting a basic t-shirt line with t-shirts and hats to where you're
20
at
years. Like a real 20 years.
And how many times did you fail by business standards, because it was all learned until you finally
all of them.
Found that niche?
It depends yourself. Because for me, it wasn't seen as a failure. It was just, it was a limited investment being lost.
Sure.
It was more like, let's try it. Yeah. A little bit until we, find where the niche is.
Well, you learned also what doesn't work for you along the way. It set up
quickly.
It set you up. It set you up. But that is a misconception in music. Your favorite artist is the biggest new artist 10 years later.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Right. He has his year, and then girls and old people know him, but we've been knowing the guy 12 years. You know what I'm saying? And
did you have a moment where you knew, like, I'm here, like we made it?
Actually, let me refine that question if you don't mind.
Sure.
What was a game changing moment? What was a defining moment where it changed, where you felt like, okay, this is becoming profitable? I'm on
all right,
the
even
path
before
to
my
where
moment.
I want to
Sure. I'm good with that one.
I mean, profitable.
Like, I would say,
who was it? Was it Ross?
I remember seeing Ross and being like, "Oh shit!" Like they're buddies. Like that's a big deal.
Yeah, no, Ross is a good friend of mine. So Ross brought me to Puff. So Puff and Ross had a little thing going on in like this Bugatti Boys, and
I remember that's around the time we did the Keep It Gully video.
Yes,
2010.
Yeah, so they had this thing, and when I used to go to Miami, because I would go there to dig, I would stay, and you stay there with me. I would stay at the Howard Johnson.
Yeah, we stay. Yo, tell them about Bless and Cory digging through dirty warehouses in Hialeah, and then sleeping with the stock, the dusty stock from the 80s in the room piled up to the ceiling. Sure.
And
that's real life.
that was like real shit. And we used to stay at the Howard Johnson.
Yeah.
And then so the way that this whole thing goes is Ross brings me out to Miami to his house, and I'm staying at his house, and then he's like, we gotta go see Puff. And I'm like, okay, great. Like, this is incredible. You know, how could you get better? And I'm alone, you know, and it's a very different world, you know? So I go with Ross and this whole thing, and there's a picture of it actually on my Facebook where, so he brings me to Puff. Puff's in this like red shirt. I already know Puff through Cassie because Cassie is a good friend of mine, and she started dating him. So she was dating Ryan Leslie, who was one of my like first biggest clients.
I remember that tie in.
And so Cass and Puff and whatever, but Cass was not there. And
so you're not going to like even mention the tie-in unless you have to, right?
No,
like that's only like dire need.
No. I'm like, so now we go to.
Maybe he won't even like that, you know.
Yeah, so we go to. And I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm alone, you know, and we so we go to Fountain Blue, which I'd never been to, and I'd never really been to even like a nicer hotel, and we go in there, and I've done business with him before, but through like Derek, his stylist, or Puff or whatever. And he is on one, and it's like all these people in these pools. If you ever been to Fountain Blue, and he's trying on a pair of Porsche, and he's like kind of going off on me, and he's like, you know, what is anyone gonna do if I take this pair of glasses and and like going off of this tyrannical raid. I have no clue what to do, and Ross is like looking at me like Ross is like, well, are you going to respond? And he's making a mockery of me. I have the rest of MMG that's there.
So he's egging like, Puff on.
No, Ross isn't. Ross is like waiting to see what I'm going to say.
He wants to see what his boy's
Puff just wants to, you know,
Puff's being an asshole, whatever.
He just wants to be Puff. He's not an asshole, but some days he goes on to like, you know, stuff that's
he's on his daddy shit.
Whatever his mood was, like he's a very, very nice guy, and he was just there was a bunch of people. He wasn't even catching him.
Maybe he didn't like your face.
Just in the middle of a fucking thing, and what would someone do if I wanted to take these glasses? I was like, yeah, take the glass. You know, he's like, see, I can take the glass. I was like, yeah, I have your black card on file, so you can take it all.
Right.
What do I give a shit? And then like Ross looked, and he looked. And everyone looked, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I'm fucking dead. You know, I'm dead. This is fucked up. I can't believe I said that to him.
Body or two.
You know, I'm not even stoned, and I'm fucking talking to this guy. He's like, and he starts laughing. Everyone started laughing. I'm like, phew. He took the glass, just for the record.
He took them for free?
He took the glass. I don't truthfully know if I ever billed it. Okay. I definitely billed it later in life, but
yeah, you got him on the flip.
That day, maybe Puffy.
But so that was an interesting thing. The other thing, I think the time when I knew that I made it was, and I don't say made it because I think that I've actually
you still got shit to do here.
A lot, but like where I had a sustainable entity.
The defining moment where it was like, oh shit, like
it was a real business.
A real business. So before that, we had another facet to vintage frames. So I always wanted a chain. I never had jewelry. The only one I knew actually who had jewelry that was from Montreal was Bless.
This guy.
And I always wanted to have jewelry, and 4-finger rings was like my shit, and so
we were very into that kind of shit.
Very, but it was all, but you know, it was more coming from you at that point because that was more your milieu than mine, and so my mother was like, we were on Green Avenue. I don't remember what I was doing. I was meeting her, and she's like, "Hey, there's these people that sell vintage stuff. Maybe you should go meet them." And they brought me to this girl, Cheryl Black, and I forget whatever her name is, this other chick, and they had a vintage jewelry archive. It looked like rich women who just needed a way to write off this jewelry or like get away from their husbands or whatever, you know?
Who knows, right?
And so there was this Chanel pendant, and I was like, holy shit. I was like, that looks dope. How much was it? I think it was like $800 or whatever. And even at that time, like $800, I was like, oh, am I really going to do this? Like,
so because that was a lot of money for us.
Was it a chain pendant?
It was a vintage Chanel chain from '86, and it was gold dipped, and so I got this
Does
thing.
Pharrell have anything to do with this story?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've heard this one from a friend.
Yeah, so I got this thing.
Amazing. I'm very happy about this. Sorry to do that.
My buddy Phil Leeds.
You're gonna hear a great story.
Ran BBC and is still a very good friend of mine. We're working on a Run DMC project now together.
Run DMC project?
Yeah, the 35th anniversary.
Sick.
So Phil, they had this group called Chester French, which was D.A. Wallach and another guy, and D.A. is like still a friend of mine and very brilliant. So he sent me to see them, and then all of a sudden the Pharrell and Jay-Z and everything tour and all that shit was coming in.
Right.
So Pharrell and I started to work together because I went to this concert and it was Pharrell, Jay, and Rihanna. I forget what the tour was called.
It's a pretty big team.
It was a big fucking team. So and I went back. He set me up to go backstage to sell to Pharrell, and I sold to Pharrell, and
much more comfortable than a wrestling.
Much more comfortable than fucking wrestling. But still, I'm there with like all this merchandise, and I'm still like trying to feel this whole thing out. And that's like different than being with the caliber of artists that I was with at the time. And so sold a bunch of shit to Pharrell, and he was like super, super supportive. And then Pharrell turned to me and he's like, have you ever met Jay? And I'm like, no, I've never met him. He's like, perfect. He's like, come, I'm about to put you on. And he walked me backstage. Well, we were backstage. We walked me to Jay's room, to Carlene.
Let's call it a quick timeout.
Yeah.
Pharrell's walking you to go meet Hova.
Yeah.
Like this is
I mean, at the show. They're there.
At the show.
They're
there.
Let's slow-mo
on that different. But it's different dressing rooms. And like, even though Pharrell's a big deal, when you're at the Bell Center specifically, you have like, you're the regular backstage.
There's 3 or 4 middle ones, and then there's the big
one. There's like,
the main
you have a main
closer
one,
to the stage you get.
So he goes and gets his assistant at the time with this girl, Carlene, and it's like, yo, Jay needs to meet him. He absolutely needs to meet him. This is like going to change his life.
And coming from Pharrell, it's all good, but
yeah,
I'm sure Cory wouldn't want to impose. He's already happy meeting Pharrell.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, can you walk me over to Jay-Z's fucking dressing room and bother him?
Yeah, so I didn't even, this was totally on him.
Right.
And he's like, all right, cool. Carlene will take care of you. And I was like, great.
Sure.
I don't know where the fuck I am. This is amazing. So I go into this room to meet Jay, and Jay's there with Steve Stout. And so Steve, Jay, and like a couple of other people, and Jay has this like super overpowering like presence to him, like an incredibly nice guy, but very overpowering.
You don't want to look too long because
so
something might happen. Yeah.
So we were doing the appointment, and I like at the time like tried to film as much as I could, and went to try to film it, and I take out my camera. I'm like, yo, can I take a picture? And Jay looks at Carlene, and she like screams, no. And I'm like, oh my God, I fucking blew this.
Yeah, you fucked up.
I didn't fuck up, but
okay.
but it was like
pre-Instagram.
Oh yeah,
it's not socially. It's weird. It's like me and him might take a picture. I'll explain you something. Like me and Cory, we would take a picture together because we know each other.
But it's not.
But we would feel awkward to ask an artist to take a picture with us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So that was that. So Pharrell was kind of secured, and then so I went to Miami. And that's where Pharrell lives, and Pharrell invited me to his studio. I don't remember who he was with, and we go into this studio, and I have this Chanel chain with me, and I'm like, oh fuck, I'm like, I don't want to be this guy that walks in with a fake chain. So I tuck the chain in, and I do the appointment with him, and everything's good. And as I'm walking out, he like literally reaches his hand and like grabs the chain, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, this is.
He was gonna rag on you.
I'm like, this is my worst nightmare. And so he takes the chain. He goes, holy fuck. He goes, that's the craziest chain I've ever seen. I was like, oh. I was like, great.
And let's give some context. At the time, Pharrell in the jewelry game, he was like the first one with $1 million chain.
Yeah.
When he did that big
with
Gucci link with the multicolored diamonds, he had like $1 million chain. So he was
he was the guy, So, and at the time, Jacob hadn't gone to jail, and everyone was using Jacob. Yeah. So he's like, can I borrow the chain? I'd like to send it.
He's a big Chanel fan.
Well, no, and I actually was just shopping his collection in New York today. But he's like, can I send the chain to Jacob to copy, because I'm doing this Murakami chain, and I would love to use this as the chain. So I'm like, sample. So I'm like, great. So I give it to Pharrell, and now I don't have a chain, and it's whatever. It doesn't matter because fucking Pharrell has it. Gives a shit.
Chain, you're good.
So. About a month goes by, and they hit me, and they're like, hey, did you get your chain back? And I'm like, no, I didn't. So call the guys at Jacob. I call the guys at Jacob, and they don't have the chain.
Fuck.
They're like, yo, we don't know where it is. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know where it is?
And then it comes back with a couple of links missing.
No. Well, listen. So they're like, well, we don't know where it is. I'm like, whoa, fuck. That's crazy. Like, what do you mean you don't know where it is?
And it's a vintage. It's not something you can just rebuy.
Chain. They're like, look, whatever it costs, we'll give you the credit at the store.
But that's an inflated ass price.
And at the time, I'm like, what am I going to buy at Jacob? And I'm like, no, you know what? It's a very rare chain. It's worth its money in, like its design, like accolades and whatever. Like, how much was the chain? And I'm like, I think I said it was $7,500 US. They're like, that's insane. I'd rather just make you a chain for $7,500. Like, no, man, it's sentimental. I can't buy it, whatever. So they send me a chain for $7,500.
What was it?
They sent me not a chain. They sent me a check for $7,500.
Oh,
because they lost Pharrell's fucking chain.
Yeah. They didn't want to lose Pharrell.
You're not losing
hundreds
Pharrell.
Of thousands.
And I'm like, holy shit. Pharrell likes this chain. This is that. Cool. I'm like, let's research this. So nobody was wearing any costume jewelry. I bought it fucking all up. I bought that. I bought the belts turned into chains, and then helped create 2 chains. And there's a video on the internet where Chains and I are meeting each other, and like literally he's transforming from his titty boy, personality to 2 Chains. And so now I have all these rappers wearing costume jewelry. Like my
when he says costume jewelry, just to explain to those who might not understand, this is jewelry that's made by either not Cartier actually,
no, because real.
But Versace or Chanel or whatever.
But it's hollow, right?
Scada.
No, it's not hollow. It's gold dipped.
It's plated, yeah.
It's gold plated, so it's not real. It's valuable for the design, but not for the metal.
Exactly.
Metal. And this thing fucking goes crazy. And now it's not about how many chains I can get. It's like people are buying fucking 5, 10. We have people coming from everywhere.
And he was making like Versace belts from the early 90s into chains.
Yeah.
That were like women's.
Yeah, because I would go and buy
you can mark
chains
them up
to
whatever
take
you
the
want,
fucking
right?
pendants.
Yeah.
And we would just sell them as the pendants. Like there's a vintage stamped Versace
Was
pendant.
there a point where 2 Chains remade some of those Chanel chains like actually in gold? Or he was just straight up wearing the old?
He was straight up wearing them all because his whole thing relied on him wearing those things. So now, now we had that as a second stream of income for this company, and it was financed by this Jacob shit,
Right.
So I'm like, holy shit.
So you were able with that $7,500 to buy a fuckload of costume old
and like really bang it out. And then we decided to make a website because I wanted to stay anonymous. So now we had this office on Westminster where my buddy Adam worked with me.
On top of a dentist office in an old building.
Yeah. And we were so... Like, that was around the time that I quit smoking weed, so...
You don't smoke anymore?
No, not really. Like, it'd been 15 years, and then sometimes I use the pens every once in a while, but that's, like, it's not like what you know me as smoking.
Right.
And so we had this office, and we were so fucked up. The company formerly known as, and we put it as the company formerly known as. So we spelt it wrong. We spelt our own company wrong on the door, and it wasn't till someone like came by and they're like,
you're missing an E.
They're like, what the fuck is this? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? It says formerly. And they're like, no, it says formally. I'm like, yeah, formally. It was like an Abbott and Costello routine.
You're actually missing an ER at the end.
Yeah, I was like, this is a fucking weird thing. We gotta go. So I was driving to my dad's house, and we found this place at the time, which was the El Pro building on de Courcelles. And it was as St. Henry hadn't been developed yet. And there was only one restaurant there, which was Max and his brother, the Marianis, that had this like restaurant in this micro neighborhood. So we went to this thing. I rented the space, and the guy told me, this guy Jeff, who owned the building, I was like, this space is way too big for me. And I think that he wanted us in the space because he had like a secret apartment there, and he kind of wanted us looking over it. What's up?
Didn't your dad have a secret apartment back in the day?
No, my dad had lived on top of his business, which may as well be
amazing. I remember it was the first time I was ever in like a
loft.
Open loft in an industrial building. I was
like a fucking maniac.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I pictured. Okay.
Yeah. Well, it was like that type of thing, except he owned the building. This guy Jeff. So he put us onto the thing, and as he was giving us the keys to this, he was like, you're going to outgrow this office. He's like, any office that's a big office, you're going to come into it, you're going to outgrow it. I'm thinking like I'm going from a bullshit rent to a real rent. I'm very uncomfortable with this whole notion. And so we do it, and it becomes like a fun factory, but for fat kids. It's like Deer Decks, but
candy and chocolate.
But there's and video games and like
weed
anything,
and whatever.
Yeah, like everything that is non-athletic, you know.
We did a shoot there once back in the day.
A lot of them do.
Yeah,
it was crazy. And then so it was this very organic thing that went there, and so we did this office, and then Chris Boykin, Big, came, you know, he passed away, and he came, and I'm like, now Big's here, and now it's really the fucking fantasy factory. I'm like, this is fucking great. And our next struggle really was, what do you do when people feel uncomfortable with having a private appointment? Because the whole thing was so exclusive, even though you could have called me or contacted me, and I would have gladly, you know, given you an appointment.
You felt it was intimidating,
it was intimidating to some people.
For like the average person to come in and have
the average Joe to walking off the street. They don't talk the industry talk that we talk. So they're like, fuck, I don't know. Like,
and it was a big,
I just want to buy a pair of glasses.
Yeah, it was super overwhelming. And so I was like, let's
cater to the
let's
individual.
move to a store, you know, and do this retail front. And at the same time, I started to buy up all these buildings in St. Henry because I could. And like my dad, well, pretty much that was the real.
Well, I think he saw the neighborhood was starting to be on the come up,
but it wasn't yet. It was just starting.
You were early,
and and part of it, like, for sure. And so my dad was always like telling me, "Yo, never live for your car and never live for your rent." So I'm always, still to this day, I'm like mad nervous to get involved in rents, even though I own the buildings and shit, just because I have this like weird like
phobia about rent.
Phobia from my dad, you know.
But if you are living for the rent and you own, at least it's at some point going back into your pocket.
Yes,
in the long
but
run.
Again, I have like my father, even though he has nothing to do with the businesses, just like kind of chirping in my ear. Like,
I was always told 1 week out of 4 is what your rent is. It's like out of the 4 weeks out of the month, let's call it, quote unquote. Yeah. It's supposed to be one of those weeks is supposed to pay for it.
Well, let me ask you, because I remember
that's what I was told.
One of the last times we bumped into each other, we were backstage at a weekend concert.
Yeah.
And we had a great conversation. I hadn't seen him in maybe like 2-3 years.
Yeah.
And I was so happy that I saw him transitioning from, you know, being an archive guy, from being a collector, and then, you know, a dealer of these rare vintage high-priced frames, Cartier, Cazal, etc., to going into branding vintage frames as your own glasses. And I thought that was the smartest. And I think I remember telling you I was really happy for you, because my concern for you was always like, what happens if the stock runs out or it becomes unaffordable because people want to gank because they know what you're getting big money.
So that was one of the problems, right? So at that time, funny enough, where the Echo thing comes into play is, you know, clothing brands typically aren't actually owned in Canada by the real mother companies. They're licensees or licensors or whatever, you know,
like
distributors
deal
or
with
sales agents.
They have distribution rights for the territory.
So here, you know, Echo had a crazy business here. It was these Jewish guys, Butch, right?
Halleckman.
Yeah, the Halleckmans. And then, you know, one of them, anyways, the Halleckmans, let's just say. And John Jay.
You had AJ, you had John,
and
you had Brian,
Raj, like all these people who branched off. But the real guy behind Echo is a guy named Seth Gersberg. So if you read Mark's book or any of it, Mark was just like an artist. Seth was this hustling religious Jewish guy from New York. And
who knew the back end of the business,
he didn't know it, but he's just a very successful, or at the time, successful, like a real fucking bulldog of a guy. So at the time that I saw you, this guy Seth, his idea was, when he realized that streetwear had a culture to it, he was going to buy up all the brands, and he was going to put all the brands into one JV, a joint venture, and we were going to all become like this superhero team. So he bought Vintage Frames, or we created a joint venture, which was a sub joint venture of Vintage Frames. And
what was it called?
It was called VF by Cory Shapiro. Okay. So I let him buy that name. And I figured I could skate from it. Yeah, no, it wasn't even the same.
So you figured he would pump out the cheaper frames and brands.
Well, it wasn't cheaper. It was like a $300 to $400 price point. Okay. But let's learn the model on someone else's dollar. So they bought me, one of my best friends, 40-ounce Van, who had a very hot.
Yeah, I remember.
So Van.
I know that name. How do I know that?
He
had a really popular
hats, and he's like has the 40-ounce bounce, and he's involved in.
He's a West Coast cat, though, right?
No, he's from New York. He's very much
very involved in the culture.
Right, anyways,
very culturally important and relevant. And so there's him. They bought A-Life. They bought Slow Bucks and like a whole bunch of other brands. Yeah. So and the idea was, if Slow Bucks needs to do glasses, well, they have Cory, and vice versa and whatever. So he was this like very aggressive businessman with this very aggressive way of doing things. And the interesting thing was that all of us had kind of these superpowers, but most of them were design and all this type of stuff. But mine was business and his was business. So I was always like trying to learn from him, and I would get him kind of riled up because I wanted to hear what he said. Yeah. Because you would always, as soon as someone went off on these tangents and was like kind of tyrannical, it was like, cool, I don't really care. My outcome is I'm taking notes. You can feel whatever you won the conversation. Fucking great.
Yeah, you're getting major gems here.
Perfect. I'm marking it down. So this company, as it turns out, like they bought also this thing called Slam X Hype, Greg Weinstein, the Fat Jew. Like we were all working together in this crazy fucking office in New York. And all of a sudden, the guys, Slowbucks goes to Summer Jam, gets chain robbed from 50.
Actually, my boy did that chain that he got taken.
So like,
I remember that was a big
deal. My boy made that chain.
Rob's this thing. And then all of a sudden, he goes on some fucking conference where he's in a room with a lawyer, and he's in a room with a lawyer that's gonna sue 50 or some fucking cockamamie story. And I'm sitting there in the office, literally as this is happening, across from Seth, and I'm like, holy shit.
He just decimated his
I am like, holy shit, dude. What the fuck is that? And Seth's like, I don't know. I'm like, dude, this isn't your marketing plan, is it?
Right.
He's like, absolutely not.
The whole fucking thing.
The next day, the brand went from like multi-millions and seemed to have been, when you looked into it, what was financing this whole joint venture, and then this whole thing imploded in a day. It went from like millions to zero.
Wow.
And both of those guys are dope dudes, not Seth, but and they just made a mistake in their approach to it, and it was definitely a learning experience for everyone. But then Seth went into this tyrannical mode where he is going to take, because the Slowbucks truck is really his, you're going to drive the truck through 50's New Jersey home, and you're going to fucking do... And I'm like, dude, you're setting people up to get killed. This is not funny.
And it's premeditated.
50's going to kill you. Like, this isn't like, joking around on the internet. You're now... home invasion. They're gonna kill you.
And they have armed security.
Yeah, obviously. Just the whole thing's insane. And now 50's gonna have a concert at BB King's or whatever. We're gonna buy out all the tickets, and instead we're gonna shovel shit and take bills and cut them in half. And I'm like, yo, this ship, cool. I'm like, it ain't really that serious for me.
And you're thinking,
I'm out.
You're thinking the relationships you've been able to build independently are going to become completely poisoned if you go along with this wild ride.
We used to tour with G-Unit.
Yeah, of course.
And I used to be doing the merch, and the merch guys were really serious.
I was the special guest on the Lloyd Banks tour.
Bro, they were really serious.
I was the special guest on the Lloyd Banks tour for like 14 cities. Cory came along to help out, and he was, trying to push our merch, and their merch guy was really more aggressive.
Really
and poor Cory was
serious.
Gooned out of the merch booth, and I'm like, yo, let my guy sell my shit when I perform.
It was very serious. And this was just like some little homie. And I'm like, now you guys want to start a gang war with Fifth? I'm cool, bro.
Yeah.
And these guys from Slowbucks, they're like, nah, we're just gonna settle this like real thing. It's easy. But this little fucking man, this Seth guy, is slamming on fucking desks. He wants to start a fucking war. He might not have realized the world he's going. But he should have, because at the end of the day, he owned Echo. So he owned G-Unit. He made Complex.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're fucking nuts, bro. I'm not doing this with you. And yeah, you should go and you're going to film it. Me, I'm going to go and film it. Fuck you, bro.
This all sounds insane.
This is insane. So this whole company implodes. And anyway, so that part of it goes down. So I get very discouraged about the fact of production because, unfortunately,
that was going to be your like record deal.
Well, that
was going to be your debut for that
to me.
business
Yeah,
model.
and it sold very well, but the problem was that I had no control of the finances from it because that was not my part of the deal.
Right, of course.
And he burned some of the major production houses. So even though I explained to them and had like documents and showed them like
You're indirectly
I'm a separate
associated.
entity.
You had a little X on your name when you were
100%.
for production.
100%. So there was one guy I don't remember how many years ago that was, but there was one guy that only came around now when I saw him in Milan to like get over that whole thing.
It's
and
gotta be at
rightfully
least
so.
6-7 years ago.
Yeah, it was, but it was like a major thing. So the whole thing going back to the kids and to this company is what do you leave to the kids, right? So for me, again, because of where we all live in different cities, yours 20 minutes further than where we're from, was I didn't want to have a stupid rich kid. Like I just didn't want that.
They're the worst.
The worst,
The
right?
worst.
Like
we used to laugh about that.
yeah,
for
the
hundreds
fucking
of
worst.
years.
Like what assholes? So I didn't want to bring a kid that was brought up like that.
That was part of your motivation as a kid, though.
Was the motivation.
Yeah, I know. I
was
remember this.
literally.
For me, my motivation was because literally we were one of the only families in this area that didn't have money, that I always wanted to, show that I would be very
out of it.
successful in
Right.
spite of that.
Yeah.
And that I didn't need money or to come from money. Let's
Right.
say.
Yeah.
We all need money, but to come from
to
money
be able to do it.
to be successful or to
Yeah,
be
so I was like, yo, let's Robin Hood this shit, And so as I had my first kid, Cash, and he's just turned 8, and then my daughter's 3 turning 4. And so it became a whole life, turning thing. Like what is the way that you do this? Do you want your kids to not have stuff? No. Do you want them to grow up thinking that they have stuff? No. But at the end of the day, if something happens to me or something happens
You want
to them,
your family to be
you want them to be taken care of, but in a way where it's not like these kids that I revolted against my whole life, who I think are like the dumbest fucks in the world and still are,
Silver spooners.
Oh my God,
silver
bro.
spooners, and we're just felt entitled, took everything
Totally,
for
like-
granted.
that's
Just shitty,
Just the
human being
worst
shit.
fucking humans, and now, everyone knew what their parents did. I didn't know shit. I didn't give a shit what my parents knew. My parents were like, yo, we don't really know shit, and you gotta do this one on your own. You want to do it? Cool. You need a little bit of help on the way. If we can, we will. But we really can't, and we're not going to, so fuck you. Do your own thing.
Figure it out.
And, my dad would always tell me, other than making me feel weird about the rent shit, he's like, I don't give a shit what you do with your life. He's like, if you, flip burgers and that's how you want to get down, cool. He's like, just make sure that you're the best at flipping burgers and that you're happy doing it.
Makes sense.
He's like, that's what it is. I don't care if you clean toilets, just be the best with it. So the whole thing was, and it's interesting because I say to my son all the time, you 100% will not take over Vintage Frames. There's no question. Do not even think that you are.
You can
this
take some of the
person.
money from Vintage Frames, start
and
your own
do
thing.
something. No
But
question.
that's not
You gotta
And
pull
you
your
could
own
fail,
weight.
but not if you're going to go to optical school and you're going to be better than me at something that's within this niche, then we can rock and roll. But I'm not going to tell
blessing.
you. Yeah, but I'm not going to tell you like you're not. This ain't your shit. Like it's just not. I will make sure that there's things where you guys will have a level for it, but not Vintage Frames, and you are not me, and you don't have the
If they
same
don't
stomach.
make their own way, they can never feel a sense of accomplishment.
And they're just not humans to me, right?
Which leaves them, to do what? Fucking do drugs and be losers,
Right.
because they all feel this creepy entitlement and they don't feel any sense of accomplishment.
Exactly. So for me, the whole thing was, how do we now? So now we have the lenses. We've coined the whole thing. How do we sustain it?
You already bought some properties. Now,
Yeah,
let's
I've bought
expand,
properties
right?
and
So
stuff like-
finally, you
yeah.
go from this deal falling through that
through,
potentially
yeah.
could have been your big break,
Yeah.
and then now you gotta go back and revisit some of these
Right.
manufacturers and say, I want to brand my own
Yeah.
glasses now.
So the first guy tells me he doesn't want to do business with me, rightfully so. Has nothing to do with me. This thing, he knows it has nothing to do with me, but he's a man of principle, and I have to respect it. And he doesn't want to
be involved.
No, cannot be involved. Respectful, no problem. So now we have this whole thing, and I'm like, well, what would happen if we now revisit all the places where we have this merchandise that we left over? Because in optical, the interesting thing, and it's safe to say because I've purchased it all at this point, optical is based on licensed houses, right? So you have a house that will have, let's say they'll produce Yves Saint Laurent, Lanvin, and Polo, for instance. They will sit these guys in the room. They'll present them the designs that the licensed house made. Polo says, "Okay, cool. I'll take 20,000 of this one, 50,000
I like the Aviator. I like the Square.
This whole
I like
thing. But it's the same fucking glass in the 70s and 80s.
Right.
YSL had the same ones. It's just logos. So let's say a company put in a PO for 100,000 glasses, and these guys ate up 80,000 of it. Now there's $20,000 units that are left over. It's the same fucking units. They are just unbranded.
Unmarked.
Yeah, so some of the companies like would put their daughter's name on it and try to liquidate them or like weird shit. And, you know, touching all these optical things and kind of catching on to it, you realized who, what, and where. So now I'm like, well, fuck, we've left all this over. Let's go get it. Because if we bought shit for low prices on the designer,
I love it.
Imagine what we can pick up now.
So you would take the remaining 20,000 pieces from this.
Well, now, right?
Now.
So in the past couple years, so about 3 years ago, we created an offset called VF by Vintage Frames. So it's like our Mark by Marc Jacobs. And the idea was to look at our P&L and to say, like, A, I don't need marketing dollars because I'm friends with everyone and I can maneuver amongst this whole world. And let's take where our marketing dollars should be and let's produce something. Let's over-deliver on quality. Let's under-deliver on price, and let's see what it does. So these glasses in these lots, there would be 50 of one, 75 of another, 100, maybe 200,
very small
whatever.
quantities.
But they would be large quantities, but of very small. Some of them had like a couple hundred, whatever.
Gotcha.
And I started to put my lenses in it. We would give them names, and we would just literally, I would put them up in my hand.
So you're test marketing.
Yeah, I would train.
Like, I have 75 pieces of this. It's very rare.
75 pieces. We're gonna, you know, it looks like Pablo Escobar. Let's call it an Escobar frame.
I like that. Smart.
And let's give it this thing. Let's give it relevance. It's actually vintage. It's price point sensitive, but the quality is the same quality.
Right.
And let's dabble in this to see if it boosts the name or fucks the name up, because we don't want to play with our higher end clientele, obviously. And anyway, so we do this. It sells like crazy, and we're just banging through these things. And we've created now this whole new niche, and people are buying into it. So, you know,
and
now
what's the price point just for
$100?
$100. Wow.
Right, so it's $100.
And you're
the
getting
original
glasses.
7,500 pieces were also 100.
Which ones?
You were saying when you were test marketing this.
Yeah.
whole
So there's been tens. There's been more than 7,500. There's been hundreds of thousands that we've gone through, but in different smaller commodities. But it allowed me to be able to have a girth, right? Because let's say if we have 1.2 million frames, we might only have 250,000 of them that have doubles or runners to it, right?
So each release of the Detroit or whatever was according to how many pieces you got your hands on, and then you
right. So the Detroit, I'll get to that in a second, but that brought us to a different place. But these glasses were going crazy, like they were literally going crazy. So after I bought them all up, now we ran into a different problem of volume.
Find more now.
Good luck. A, do we want to find more? Right. Or now, now we know that it works. It doesn't fuck our business up.
You're almost running into the same problem you ran into with
100%.
Cartier and the vintage.
We're 100% because, and now how much commodity do we want to release? So for that division, we probably have another 1 million units in specifically that. But I don't want to pump them out as consistently. I'd rather play with them.
Let it sit like the Supreme model.
Exactly.
You release one, you let it sit for a bit. Now there's a new one.
But it's different because his were unbranded vintage glasses that he was rebranding.
Right.
Exactly.
Meaning they run out. Supreme can do as many units as they want and
the small
restock.
runs.
So that's contrived type versus this is actually limited edition.
He can't reorder the stock if they go wild.
No, exactly.
It's done.
So why not hold on to it at that point, right?
Well, yeah.
No.
So now I sit down. I don't remember who it was, but someone was like really egging me on, being like, "Oh, so now you sell this big shot." They're like, "Why don't you just produce your own?"
It was for sure Puffy, right?
No, it wasn't. Puff's dope. Like nothing bad to say about him anyway. Yeah. And like on that day,
he might be a killer.
And that like point of time, everyone was like on a really tyrannical raid, and it was like it was the right time to have a tyrannical raid. And it wasn't specifically against me. It was against the. It
was
wasn't
lit, having fun.
It was probably fucking drunk.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. I've literally touched more glasses than anyone in the world. Single SKUs. Nobody can take that away from me. I know what glasses have sold in what places, what glasses have not sold, because I've bought up what hasn't sold. I've sat through, because of the way that I have bought the glasses, I've sat through the most fucking insane pitches from people and their tyrannical raids. Now I have all this information. Now let's put my money where my mouth is.
Mm-hmm. So, you did the market research.
Yeah. Well, I'm in it, and I am the market. So I'm like, look, let's do something different. So one of our models that was our best-selling model was called a Detroit Player. And I don't remember how I came up with the name. It was with my buddy Brian. We were kind of like shooting around names. I came up with this name, and it was always our more successful model. So my idea was...
Isn't Detroit where they do the Players Ball?
I mean...
Pimp culture is big in Detroit,
right?
Yeah, but it's not. It wasn't really based. It was just kind of like the name. It didn't have as much girth as that, to be honest. So I had this idea, and I was like, well, why not? Instead of trying to just design my own frames, let's take the best of every frame that I thought after touching them all. Let's get rid of the worst, and let's take the pieces together and make a line where it pays homage historically, but through different aspects. Mm-hmm. So let's give these frames so many levels of branding that it doesn't matter who looks at them. Let's go for it. So we create this Detroit Player.
And now you go into production.
Now we're in production. Mm-hmm. And
this is the first time, right?
And this is the first time where like my balls are on the line.
You're running off 100,000 pairs.
If we fucking, no, I don't even go that far. So I convince a factory to make 1,000 pairs for me. Mm-hmm. And they're like, we don't want to.
Overseas?
These things called the Detroit Players. So I released
I'm just asking, like you have like a manufacturer overseas, or is it?
Oh, overseas? Yeah. I thought you said, what were these? Yeah, we have a manufacturer overseas.
And I'm guessing their minimum is probably like 10,000 usually.
No, they have very high minimums. Mm-hmm. But now what I've been able to do is I don't want them to just produce it. I want certain parts from different places because I want there to be authenticity in this piece of eyewear. Mm-hmm. So, if I think that the hinges should be done in Japan, let's get the hinges in Japan. Right. If I want the acetate from Germany, if I want the lenses from here, if I want the nose pads.
I want it to be a quality, sustainable
and then let's piece. Put it together in Asia, but let's finish it in Montreal. Let's edge it and lens it in Montreal. Cool. Mm-hmm. And so we do this glass. I put this marketing thing together, and I'm like, I look into Detroit and say, like, what is it that we can add a little bit more of a Detroit feel to it? Mm-hmm. So Detroit's famous for this drink Faygo, and it's like their Cot cola,
mm-hmm. Right?
So I've working with Remy Martin and playing around with their liquids to use for lenses. I figured out a way to take the dyeing colors out of lenses so I can kind of color match or whatever. Mm-hmm. So we make this thing. We do this launch in Detroit. We do a dinner. We put these things online. There's 1,000 pairs. 1,000 pairs sell out in 8 hours. We're sitting there in the office. Shopify is ringing off the fucking hook.
And that was just social media straight online.
This was social media. Cory Lanes, who's my homie, came to Montreal. I'm like, yo, put these on. Mm-hmm. I'm shooting you for this. Mm-hmm. He shot the whole, the campaign. Mm-hmm. It went on Hypebeast. Hypebeast was into it. I mean, they pick up whatever the fuck I do anyways. They're always been supportive, High Snobiety, and everyone picks it up. Mm-hmm. The glass goes live in 8 hours. It sells out. We have the fastest selling glass of all time.
Fuck yeah.
And I'm sitting there in the office.
Papa proud.
And I'm looking, and I'm like, holy fuck. I'm like, this is not that everything else isn't real, but now there's a different level of sustainability.
Now that's right. You have that long term now.
Now we have the long play. Now we have the play where we can put money towards funds for college for the kids and stuff if they want to use it in a different thing. Like there's not that we've never had a long game. I always had a long game, but it was always
a hustle. It was always
this has to be. This is like a
robbing Peter to pay Paul. Like you get this stock and you try and move it. And
well, it went much in the past 6 years, like much less than that. But at the beginning, yes, like we're 15 years into this. And
so finally you have a sustainable.
Now I have a sustainable model. So I'm like, I have one of my friends, Brian, who was working for me at the time, and he goes, "Was this a fluke?" I'm like, I don't know. Was it a fucking fluke, or do we really know what we're doing? You know, he's like, I don't know, but we should be careful. I'm like, fuck it. You know what? To be honest with you, I really know what I'm doing. Let's fucking do this. So we do an offset colorway of it, where it's, instead of purely 18 karat gold, it's a two-tone 18 karat gold. We put it out. We only do 250 units of it. It sells out in 4 minutes.
So you know,
and I'm like, oh, okay.
So let me ask you, how does the strategic partnership with Remy Martin and with Neiman Marcus come about?
So Remy Martin, when we start our store, I think it was 5 or 6 years ago. It was sponsored by Hennessy, the opening, and the Remy Martin guys kind of got wind of it, and they got involved with us. They started to sponsor the barbershop, saw how, you know, really involved with the brands. When I take on a brand, like I have other brands that I'm the brand manager and or marketing and or seating for, and I work very closely with them, but I take on the brand like as if it's my own brand. And the money, yes, plays into it, but at the end of the day, it's really important for it to be a real natural synergy for what I do. So Remy is a very elevated brand. It's a family brand. So they come to me and they say, hey, look, we have some extra money at the end of our budget. What should we do? I'm like, let's make a mobile barbershop. Let's call it the Centaur, and let's bring the experience to them. So we buy this Sprinter. We turn it into Notorious. It's a one-chair thing. It's the craziest stereo system, a bar in it, running water.
And it's basically a moving ad for Remy Martin.
Yes, but on the inside.
And this is in Montreal?
It's in Montreal, yeah.
Isn't there like a law against food trucks and all those things? Especially
not a
back
food
in
truck.
the day, no? But I'm saying, like, can't you not have a mobile business? Isn't that...
You can only not have a mobile business if you ask.
Fair.
Right?
Fine.
Plus, I mean, I don't think you guys were charging if it was a promo thing.
No, we at certain things we were, certain things we weren't. You know, it's like I just bought a golf cart to drive around Côte St. Luc, and everyone's like, well, is that illegal? I said, I don't know. You would only know if it's illegal if you fucking ask if it's illegal. If you don't give a shit, well, then fuck you. We'll figure it out, you know? Yep. So we build this thing, and it's wildly successful, and Hennessy sponsors all these events in Montreal, and I don't really give a shit about their sponsorships. So they have this event. I don't remember who, like, it was Jazzy Jeff. It was like their Mural Festival. Okay. A fucking Hennessy festival. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. And I take the truck and I drive the truck right into the festival. I'm in the middle of the festival. We have the fucking green room. It's in the middle of the festival. They're paying probably $1 million for it. I'm sitting there in a truck fucking drinking Remy. Brilliant, you know?
Very, very.
And so very aggressive and very like able to merge
yourself to things that are already
and merge it and make it, you know, being the whole strategy of vintage frames is providing luxury to people who might not always have experienced it, while also satisfying the crowds of people that do. So kind of merging those cultures. And Remy took hold into it. They then were confident enough to bring me into the States. So two of our guys from Remy Canada, one of them just got he's now the VP of Louis XIII, which is one of our highest end products.
In Canada?
No, he went from Canada to the States, and now he sits
Louis.
Yeah. And then this other guy, Thomas, also went, and Thomas brought me with him. And then when the States got wind of what type of work I did and stuff like that, they put me in charge of a program, or to create this program called Collector Series, which was their basketball program originally. And so my idea was,
what is it exactly? I'm curious.
So it's the second year that it happened, and the first year was they believe that there's a synergy between them and the basketball culture. So people are watching basketball, big cognac drinkers, same kind of demographic type of thing.
Ballers, whatever.
Yeah. So they created this limited edition box, which was a sneaker box, and they had this kind of like tour that happened around it, and it was a very good first start into that, but it was still missing an aspect that could really bond it culturally. So I wrote this program to them and brought in my friend Don C., who's Kanye's best friend.
You know who we just had on the podcast?
Who's that?
Neil Forrester from Toronto.
Oh, word up.
He's very close with Don C.
Yeah.
And he was telling us all kinds of great stories back in the day.
I know. I see Neil all the time. Actually, I onboarded him for a couple of our events.
Yes, my brother. Neil.
So I brought Don on, and we developed this program where his brand's called Just Don, so we created this co-label, Just Remy, and it was Don designing the sneaker box and packaging. Dope. And it was a 5-city tour, and each city would have this piece of this very exclusive collection, Dope. Which was a Just Remy, Just Don thing. So I work with them and basically am able to translate what they want to do to the culture that, not that they're disconnected from, but that the culture wants to be fed things in a more like,
maybe they weren't accessible. They weren't even accessible.
Yeah, they want to feel part of it. So we bridge the gap with them. And what my real specialty is vintage fashions. So there's this company, JSSI. They own British Knights and they own Lugs. So I work on Lugs and British Knights very closely.
Two companies that are kind of under the radar, but still for me hype.
Yeah, but they're dope, and
right? And that's the Carl Kanai's British Knights.
Yeah,
that's
it's in the same ballpark. It's a family business, and
so they're bringing it back out through Canada, or they're rolling it out.
No, so it's in the States. It's distributed. It's a company that owns.
But it's a U.S. distributor.
It's a U.S. distributor.
Okay.
So I generally work only with U.S. companies because my reach is strongest within the U.S. It's very present in Canada, but the Canada is really a trickle down from the U.S.
At the end of the day, they look to what's happening.
Yeah, 100%.
I remember years ago with Epic Mealtime, and I won't name any names, where we did a sponsored video.
Yeah.
And Canada approved everything. Yeah. The video's ready to go, and America's like, nah. And I had to literally frame by frame blur out the logos. They still cut the check, but we weren't allowed to use their logo because the Canada version was like small potatoes, and they were like, yeah, we're doing it. And the big company in the States is like, no, we're not doing this. Yeah. We're not throwing these fucking drunken assholes anywhere near our stuff. You know what I mean?
That's that's
you're better off.
That's the reality of that stuff. Yeah. So I work with them, and we're resurging the brands and putting it in different. They're still very big brands, but within more of a middle America context. Mm-hmm. And we've worked with Ewing and Chuckline and shit like that. Dope. And then the other one, which I work with very closely, is MCM. And so MCM took a notice.
Favorite of both
forever.
Of
I for argument's sake, I am MCM. Like as far as you Google, so most people think I own the brand. So they were bought over by a really interesting company from Korea. Very smart lady. They have an office in New York and Jersey, and they've started on this whole expansion. So we work with them and have some cool shit coming out with them, which kind of gives it a bit of an elevated ideology because that's what I've been wearing since I was a kid.
Yeah, of course.
And in a lot of cases, I understand their back history a lot more than they do because I was part of the whole thing.
We need to remake that members only MCM jacket.
They did it.
That you brought to my photo shoot back in the day.
They did it. They have.
Oh my god, I need that.
And they made it, and they did it as a biker jacket.
Oh, that's what I was just gonna say.
They did it as a biker.
I was being true to the because it was like a members only jacket.
Yeah,
but I need the perfecto, right?
Yeah, and all these companies, whether it's them or Kazal or whatever it is, they have a very rich heritage. In a lot of cases, they don't understand the heritage because they weren't there and licenses have changed names. And it's almost like two companies because you have kind of their new designs and their old designs, and like certain people really like their heritage, but certain people really like their new. So I kind of come into these companies and convince them to keep their heritage as a division, but separately.
Mm-hmm. And give the new.
Let people who are culturally relevant run that alongside with these companies while they do the other stuff with the other things to keep the lights on. Yeah, but we keep it in the public, So that's kind of what we do, and now the big conflict is how much time do I dedicate to work versus my kids, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all bullshit. Like I don't want to be at shows anymore. Literally the only shows that I want to be at are Elton John or DMX. And it's the fucking strangest
and
combo.
Hopefully neither of them are in a dark room waiting with a bottle of wine for you.
Right, yeah.
Let's be honest.
So we went to, and it was kind of interesting because a lot of the stuff, the key to being successful in these arenas or these like different places is learning how to walk through the walls. That's the key. The key is finding the weakest link and making sure he doesn't work for them. He then works for you. So,
or he's abused by them and wants to work for you.
Whatever it is. So like, I've taught many people throughout the years how to kind of do this thing, but there was always a, put me in front of whoever and wherever we have to get. We're going to get in. There's no question. And if you look like you're supposed to be there, you are supposed to be there. So like my best friend, Adam, who funny enough lives in the same place where you grew up. He's like, I've never seen DMX. And I never want to go to his birthday parties. I don't like a lot of the people that go there, and I don't like the restaurant he chooses.
You want to laugh? You know that famous old footage of me battling Young Berg in front of DMX? Yeah. That was on DMX's birthday in his dressing room in Tampa.
Funny, man.
Yeah. DMX's birthday is not where you want to be.
Always turns up on his birthday.
So so I was like, you know what, fuck, I can do this. I'm not going to show up at the birthday party. I'm always also out of town. I feel bad every year. I'm going to find a city where I feel is like an easy city to go to.
Yeah.
DMX is starting tour. Let's go out. So this week or last week on
Wednesday,
just
started performing again.
Yeah, so we went to the second show. I flew out with Adam to Boston. We went to see DMX.
Nice.
And we get into DMX, and I'm like, oh, God. I'm like, this is a fucking clusterfuck. Like, I don't know how this is going to go off, but if it goes off...
Did you watch the show? Does he still have it?
So did I go to the show?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was incredible.
Great.
But I
saw
was
him years ago here, so.
Yeah, I don't know X. And I've only seen him once at a Swiss event. I could have called Swiss or someone and got tickets, and I was like, you know what? I really want to be general admission to this. I'm a real fan. Let me fucking do this.
Support.
Yeah. So I bought tickets, which was fine, but I bought general admission tickets. I figured I'd be in like the pit. I'm in the pit for like 4 minutes.
Boston's grimy.
There are fucking things going around that I want nothing to do with. And I have my chains, and I'm like, nah, this ain't for me. Let's go up. I'm going to find the weakest link. So we go around. I see this little security guard, right?
The weakest link.
The weakest link, right? And there's gigantic security guards. But there's a little guy, and it's on the second floor, it kind of goes around, and it's the section that's right next to the stage. And I see there's like a little section that's cleared off, and he seems very serious because he's the smallest guy there. I go up to him and I said, Adam, right? He's like, no. Tells me his name. I'm like, oh, that's right. I'm so sorry. I've just met so many people. Cool. I'm like, I'm here to see you. This section, do not let anybody into it, okay? He's like, yeah. And then I come back.
He doesn't know who the fuck you are.
Doesn't know who the fuck I am, you know?
you mind fucking.
You gave him a job.
Wait.
This is a good story.
And then I come back. Oh, I'll show you a picture. I have a picture of him too.
Okay. So you go there, you troll him first.
Yeah, troll him first. And I'm like, you want a drink? He goes, no, I can't drink. Okay, cool. I'll be back. So I go back to him and say, look, this section, you got to keep it clear. Please understand that nobody can come in here. I can lose my job. He's like, of course. Great. No problem. People are fucking packed, and there's this one section, there's no one that's there. And I'm like, yo, Adam, you've never really come with me to this shit. You look fucking forward. Look forward, stand where I tell you you gotta stand. You fucking blend into this wall because I'm not sitting in this crowd, and fuck this. Go back in. I'm like, you know what, Adam? Actually, do me a favor. I'm like, give me your phone. He's like, what do you need my phone for? I'm like, I need to send a text message. So I send myself a text message saying, yo, Cory, X will fire you if you don't get the footage properly for this. You fucking stay there, stage left. Okay? He's like, you fucking stay there. He's like, I'm not dealing with this. So we go in, and this guy, I forget his name. Turns out he's a Jewish cat too.
The security, this
little guy.
He found one Hebrew in the whole building.
So, but to make him feel part of this,
susceptible to manipulation.
Right. To make him feel part of this whole fucking thing. I'm like, do you mind being on the Instagram? He goes, no, not at all.
He thinks it's for DMX's Instagram.
He doesn't. I've not claimed.
He's scared.
I've not claimed that it's. I've not claimed whose Instagram it's for, but it is.
But X is going to fire you.
It is for Instagram, and not DMX is going to fire me. Just X. So I have not lied to anybody. I have not done anything. I'm a good person.
Oh, white lies.
So we go into this. We go into this thing, and now finally he comes up to us and goes, "I'm so sorry. Do you have credentials, dude?" My assistant is in Quebec. I pull out my Quebec driver's license, which no one can read anyways. Mm-hmm. I go, here's my credentials. I said, and look, here's a text from Adam. Right? And he reads it. He goes, he goes, oh, great. I said, dude, do not let anybody into this section. He goes, I got it, man. No problem. And so Adam's next to the wall. He's wearing black. I'm like, Adam, do not fucking move your head. You look forward. You look forward the whole fucking show, and that's it. Blend. Then they bring in like a couple of radio personalities. I look at him. I'm like, dude. He's like, radio. I'm like, oh, it's okay. Don't worry. You're good. Right?
Like, so now you're policing the area.
Yeah, and now there's all the big security coming, and they're looking at him and going, who the fuck is this? No. They're good. And they're like, I don't know. Cool, great.
Because he saw your credentials.
Do they know? My credentials in my Quebec.
You're allowing people
still
in
haven't lied. Now.
So once you were back there, did you bump into somebody?
I'm not backstage. I'm on stage. I'm on
the side of the stage.
Second level, exactly where I want to be.
Yeah.
I have my own private section.
You're just trying to maintain it.
I'm just trying to watch fucking DMX.
Gotcha.
You know, so we watch DMX, and then obviously it's getting to the end of the show. People are getting rowdy. I'm not into this at all. I've already bought my T-shirt outside. Like, I'm a fan of this shit. I'm out. Look at the guy. Dude, you need to escort me out. He goes, what do you mean escort you? Where is the place for me to leave? No, you gotta go there. No. I'm not going out there. What is that? Okay. Shh, go out there. I was like, all right, man. Good to see you. You know? Peace. You know, we're out. Boom. But it's that like, and never did I tell him that I work for DMX. I never lied to him at all.
It's the important key thing.
But I can imagine that kind of creative maneuvering, we could call it, has served you well to be able to
and you always,
get clients
at events and shit.
Access, of course.
Yeah, you always want to know the security guards. So like now when I go to the Bell Center,
bless them with glasses.
I don't even give them glasses. Hey, how are you? Just make them feel like they're part of the gang. You know,
absolutely.
You know, you having a good night? Cool, yeah, cool. How you doing? Blah.
Absolutely. So you forgot one thing.
Yeah.
How did Neiman Marcus come about?
So Neiman Marcus sees us. Neiman Marcus sees us at Complex Con.
It wasn't through MCM tie-in or anything.
It had nothing to do with it. Actually, MCM's a very big client. Neiman Marcus is a very big client of MCM. Neiman Marcus takes an interest into what we do from their special project side. They see this whole activation, because my whole thing with the glasses industry is there's like all this fluff to the glasses industry, like how lenses are made and all this type of shit. So when you are waiting for your glasses to be made, you could have your glasses in 5 minutes, in 10 minutes. It just depends how motivated the person is, because the machines at this point are automated.
Right. It's just like a 3D printer at this point. They're cutting based on
there's quite a bit of skill, no doubt, but you can learn it, you know? Yeah. So like while these guys are doing maybe 10 frames a day in a store, if they're lucky, each machine's doing 200 frames and 200 pairs. And it's just it's like a different
vibe.
Wear
out? Do you like burn out machines constantly?
We bang them out. No, these are like major medical machines. We fucking push them. And the cool thing about it is the companies that we buy from love that we have them, because we're troubleshooting the machines at those type of volumes.
Right.
So we're doing factory production locally on medical machines instead of factory machines, which is
interesting. And these factory machines are probably hundreds of millions of dollars, right?
It's not that it's not that the money's more expensive. It's they're just cumbersome, you know, and it's like it's just big for nothing.
Okay.
So Neiman, we basically do this thing where when we do our activations, where we bring the machine, you can cut lenses on the spot. It's a very special thing to the optical industry, because people don't want you to see the machines. They don't want you to know what the fucking secret is. Yeah, and we're just very transparent. Why do you have to lie to people? Just be as transparent as possible. Try to give them the best fucking product in the world, the most unique product. Just
think it's cool,
and that's it. And it becomes its own social media moment.
So you've been doing pop-ups in different Neiman Marcuses where you customize the lens for the weekend or whatever.
We have, but Neiman Marcus put us into 14 stores as a test. So they purchased us into the stores. We had an 87% sell through our first weekend, which is absurd.
Congratulations.
Yeah, which is unbelievable. Congrats. And so when you see us doing these activations in store, it's where we've been bringing the machine and doing it around cultural events. So like we went and did Super Bowl, we went and did All-Star and shit like that. And like Super Bowl was our first weekend. I don't remember what our number was we sold, but it was very high. They didn't know what the fuck hit them. They were like, what the hell is going on? Not only what is going on, but all these celebrities, like it was in Atlanta,
were popping up to come say hi,
to
grab
support.
A pair. Yeah.
You know, and like
they've never seen this before.
They've never seen it. They had no idea how to catch.
And with no marketing money, they didn't have to pay for the celebrities to pop up.
And they didn't have to do anything.
That's tremendous value for them.
Crazy, you know, and they're putting it up on their own social channels. If you would ask them to do it, you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars for some of these guys. And like JD, who's a very good friend of mine, who we actually just signed on to Remy for a new program. And he's like, to me, he's one of the pillars of hip hop in general.
Just so they understand, Jermaine Dupri he's talking about.
Right. Lil Bow Wow, the Brat.
So Def,
exactly.
So he's like the mayor of Atlanta. And during Super Bowl, he had like 12 events a day. When they saw him come to Neiman's to buy a pair just to support and take time out of the day, that was like, they were like, holy
that was
shit.
A good look for you.
Yeah, we had all the basketball players, all the football players. Fab came through, he came through, Don. Like, it was just a who's who. And they were like, what the fuck is going on? I said, well, these are my friends. In the same way that they do things, I will pay for it financially. I will support it financially. You know, so like Don's wife, Kristen Crawley, who's also has her own line of like, of these like lip moisturizers and eye moisturizers, like this mask
beauty
line,
products,
beauty shit. Like, she literally hopped on a bird, like, which is one of these rentable, scooters, and took a bird to come to the activation because there was traffic. And like, do you know how much support that is? It's
These
just
are years and years of your reputation,
years of relationship,
and years. You know, when they come to town, he goes out of his way. He hooks them up with amazing glasses that you know that are very rare. You can't just find, can't just buy them. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you know they appreciate that.
But then when they do something, you know, so she released her new products, which are like these, like, let's say lip moisturizers. I'm not from that market, but I'll buy them.
You'll pick it up for your wife or whatever, just because.
I'm just going to support it just because.
It's just regular.
There's and in an industry where so many people expect free things,
the worst.
I don't want, like, yes, it's very nice to get free things, and we do quite a bit, but I'm always supporting financially because it really means a lot to spend your dollars to do this. Always buying the albums, always paying for the movies, the whole shit. Like, this is their living, and if you expect them to support you, well, you gotta fucking support
I saw
them.
Ross doing an interview.
100%.
I'm sure you saw this, and it was so true. He said, you know, I like everybody's shit that I genuinely respect. He goes, because not only is it free to like, but if it helps you, that I'm just showing love, it's just good energy. And if you want to be successful as an entrepreneur, you must give to receive, like 100%. Anything in life. If you 100%. Put out great energy, you're going to get good energy back. If you put out weird energy, it's normal.
And asking for shit is fucking weird for me. Like, who asks for free shit?
You know, a lot of, like, you know, my whole thing, and it's always the same line. And I can't mention the people who have said it just because maybe they will see this. As soon as someone's like, yo, what can I get for free? Same shit all the time. I'm like, yo, if you plan on coming to my son's bar mitzvah and performing, take what you want.
Yeah.
But if you're not, fuck out of here. You know, like
I think I saw you say that to 2 Chainz.
To 2 Chainz, yeah.
Right? Am I right?
2 Chainz and I are
we had a great thing on what was it?
The GQ shit?
No, Vice, I think it was. Like, one of his first episodes of, like, The Rich was the sunglass one.
GQ.
GQ.
So
it was GQ?
Yeah, it was GQ.
I thought it was a Vice.
He's on Vice now because Vice bought it. The most expensivest shit.
Oh, they bought it. Okay, but that was, like, the first or second episode.
But I literally land from Milan, and as I'm landing, I get a text from Chainz.
You were over the top in that episode, by the way.
No, but you have to understand that's the relationship I have with him. Chainz like, yo, he's like, you want to be on the show? You got to be in LA in like fucking 6 hours. I like get off the plane, go and pack a bag of glasses, get on the plane to LA.
And people don't understand the schlep, the hustle.
Yeah,
it's sweat
the
equity.
Customs is the fuck.
Sweat equity, you know?
It's insane, you know? So I go there, and Chainz and I have that real relationship. Like, that's who it is. But
it goes back.
Yeah, it goes back. Like, literally he's
a nice guy, too.
He's a very nice guy, but it's a very, like...
friendly rapport.
Yeah, and it's like he's clowning on me and I'm clowning on him. But that whole thing, they were like, the manager was like, yo, you guys can go at each other. I'm like, because Chainz, I've seen some of your shit. And it's like, yeah, we're going to smoke a $1,000 dab and with some dude who looks like he's from Scooby-Doo. Like, it's like not hot. You want to play? Like, let's play, you know? And the episode, I went after him funny. It was very funny, but it wasn't in a disrespectful way.
No.
But I went fucking after him every single.
I mean, we're all three Jewish people in this room. You look very Jewish in that one.
Yeah, but I bodied him. I literally bodied him.
Well, I think it's very in our humor, you know.
I don't care what anyone says. He knows too. I fucking bodied him in it. And
you won that episode. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. I would have edited certain things.
You had the Eminem verse on Renegade in that episode.
No question. He was, it was a great episode, and it also, it did quite a bit. Like that was a major thing where people reference for me, and that was always a big thing. So, circling this all back to Neiman's, we now have them looking at GQ, them seeing us at Complex. We come in, we're fucking gangbusters.
You got your credit.
Yeah. And they're like, what the fuck? They're like, we don't have any glasses. And now we're in their stores, and now we're rolling out, I think, to 34 stores out of their 43, which is good. And instead of it just being glasses that are sold there, because we're like literally outselling every single brand, it's like a joke. Now we're going to have actual machines and staff in each store. So we're going to have shop and shops in all these stores.
Permanently?
Which is permanently.
Nice.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I'm very happy for you.
Yeah, which is huge. And I don't think it's such a... I didn't realize it was such a big deal, to be honest. Like, it was cool, and there's a lot of accounts that approach us and stuff like that. But people have gone fucking apeshit for it. And it's really opened the doors to quite a bit of, of these places. Barney's wants us, all these types of places.
Well, and I think the lesson is, Cory, that after 15 plus years of consistency on the same focused business idea, because the model evolves, that finally you're getting your just dues, and I'm very happy for you. Man. Congratulations.
Well, it's at the point where before it used to be, what can I do? Like, and it was almost an egotistical thing. I know I can do this. Like, I can create a barbershop. I know I can create a barber culture. But now it's, should I do that? And so now...
A little bit wiser.
Well, it's not wiser. Yep. It's like, I got to choose what my time is. Because at the end of the day, I just want to be with the kids.
Sure.
And that's the only
quality of life shit.
Yeah,
right?
That's the and fortunately I'm at a place where I can decide what it is that I do and don't want to do. Like I don't turn things down always, but I do turn down quite a bit of things if I'm not 100% into it. Because if I'm not 100% in it or 100% behind the brand, like the check's cool, but
at this point you have a brand to look after too, where it's like, come on.
But it's not only that, like the kids. And the kids are such, like, you turn around, I was only away for a day for this fucking WrestleMania shit. Do you know how much you could lose in a kid's life? Like, you're not there for a lot of it. And it doesn't matter how much money, it doesn't matter how much wealth or buildings or whatever.
Or whatever, cars, you're missing that shit.
It's nothing to do with it.
I think, Cory, and correct me if I'm wrong, is cats like us always did it more for the culture. Always did it more as a passion. Always did it more to prove to ourselves that we could do that. I don't think I think if the money was the only thing you were shooting for, you wouldn't have gotten to this point because you would have quit a long time ago.
Well, that's true.
You know what I mean?
The money portion of it came.
It was a personal thing to conquer.
Oh, it was always a personal. It was it was the whole Robin Hood thing. I'm sitting in a room with a bunch of rich kids that are asking me about hash. They sound out of their fucking minds.
Not for you.
It's not for me. Like, but what is for me is their parents. I like their parents. I'll hang out with their fucking parents, but I don't want to hang out with them. Fuck cares what they have to say. Who cares?
You've matured, Cory, big time. Let me tell you something. No, just like as someone who's known you for a long time, to talk to you now, awesome. But to hear the ending of this, which is I'm doing this for my kids, and now it's just about spending time, because time is the only thing that really has value.
Absolutely.
Material things don't really have value.
Yeah. And my son goes to. I appreciate it. My son goes to a Jewish school. I can't name which one, but he goes to a Jewish school not because and probably the three of us is a really good example. The three of us are Jewish, but we didn't really raise on our
we're public school people.
Heritage.
Yeah. Not at all raised
My
on
best friend's Jamaican. Right? His name is in Schwartz.
Right, but
you know what I mean?
I didn't go to private schools. I didn't go to Jewish schools.
That's the reality,
I was in the public system with everybody.
There is a separate part of that culture. Mm-hmm. And what I prefer to the religion is the culture in a certain way.
Sure. Which is great for the kids.
100%. And I believe that the kids should be part of that. I believe that, it's my son, I'm like, high school, public, I don't give a fuck what you want to do unless you're like some scholar and you want to skip grades and go to Harvard or some shit right out elementary, cool. But if not, nah, man, like you're in a public forum because that's equally as important as knowing this
especially
forum.
where we live.
Yeah,
it's so diverse.
But bro, when I roll up to fucking school with him, dude,
it's show and tell.
It's not only show and tell. It's like it's a joke. You know,
you stick out like a sore thumb
wherever
you are a cartoon for these people.
No question about it. But you know, like my son gets out of the car. You know, 3 taps. He's out. Cool. You know, he's out. And like,
but it's cute for him. I'm sure he has fun with it as a kid.
He does. He's definitely singled out because of it.
Yeah.
And
he's
no
definitely
matter
one of the cooler kids too.
Oh,
there's no way around.
There's not even like, you know, it was just his birthday, and his birthday, I let it turn into a birthday weekend which was completely wrong of me. So I had my families who don't get along over for a dinner. So I made this new house.
You should have recorded that.
I did. Trust me, I did. Everything that goes on in my house is recorded. So we have
for legal purposes.
So we have this going on, and then my son the week before tells me, he's like, I want to go to see Kiss. I said, you want to go see Kiss?
The rock band.
I said, oh, okay. When do you listen to Kiss? Well, Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo and Kiss. Okay, we're going to go to Kiss.
It's classic.
Great. So my buddy calls me up. He goes, hey, I'm on tour with Kiss. He's like, I'm the opening act. Fuck. Perfect. Unbelievable.
Let's do it.
Can we go? Yeah, for sure. Do you want to meet the band? Why not?
Yeah.
Right? So call up my buddy Adam again, and I'm like, we're going to Kiss. He's like,
you
great.
need to do a frame with Gene Simmons.
Well, he wasn't super friendly with me, but I'm like, if you're going to go to a Kiss concert, it's their last tour, you got to dress up like Kiss. I hate to dress up. I'm not a Kiss fan. I'm like, fuck it. I called Jen. I'm like, Jen, we're going to Kiss. We need to dress up.
It's Kiss
Get a makeup artist.
That's cute.
Bro, we're dressed like Kiss. We have the store Giggles who does like all the fucking party shit. They put us in these like $1,000 costumes. We have makeup. I'm in 6-inch fucking platforms.
You're fully Kiss at this point.
Fully Kiss, and the most embarrassed ever that I could ever be. You know, and I'm backstage at the concert. I'm trying to walk in these heels. I feel out of my mind, and I look, dude, dead ass. Okay, and I'm like, fuck, I am the most embarrassed. Like, I can't even go to a Halloween party. I'm so embarrassed.
But you do it for the little guy. Come on.
But I see the security who knows me very well, and I go and I say,
dressed
what's up?
up like
I
Kiss,
go and I
like
say,
a complete
I'm like, yo, what's up?
nutcase.
And he has no idea who I am. And I'm like, this is amazing. He doesn't
you're
know
in makeup.
because I'm fucking fully in like a full
no
Kiss
one
thing.
expecting you to be.
Yeah. So we go into the thing. We see the Kiss. We take the picture because, like, what a great fucking picture to have. You
of
and
course.
Kiss dressed up like Kiss.
Like, you're
That's
gonna
the
fucking dress
best.
up. You gotta take a picture.
You gotta do it, you know? So we do this whole thing, and then I'm seeing people and saying hi to them, and they have no idea who I am. I'm like, great. You know, this is great. So we do this Kiss thing. I must have met someone there. I get a call on Friday, and the guy's like, hey, you know, I work for the Globetrotters. I really like what you did for your son, Cash. I would like to invite you guys to the Globetrotters. I'm like, I can't do this. Like, I have a thing tonight. They're like, well,
You're not wearing a uniform. Leave me alone.
I'm like,
Could you
know?
dress up like a
I'm like,
mascot
fuck.
again for
I'm like,
this
I'm not,
game?
you know, and I'm like, oh my God, I can only imagine being put on court and like them making a mockery of me, you know, which is like, be the worst. So they're like, well, we have something on Sunday also. Move the birthday party. It's on us.
That's
I'm like, I can't move the birthday party. The birthday party's on Sunday. So now this is turning into like a fucking Kylie Jenner weekend for her kid. Right. So now we have a next day, and we have this, and the kids are at the fucking, you know, how do you get 6 kids to a thing? You have to rent a limo or something. So like, limo comes, the kids, the whole thing. And like, so this whole type of thing is the reality of Cash. Like, he's gone to all these concerts.
Sure.
He's never sat outside just because they're all friends of mine. So we go to Bieber, we go to whatever the fuck. Like, he went to a Khaled concert when I was away because he had to bring him glasses. So he brought glasses to Khaled and Kalani. Like, everyone knows him, you know? But that's his reality. But it's not the reality of the kids around him. And so for the first time, I really got to see him interacting in a group of these kids. And he's just not at their level, you know? And it's like...
But you weren't either.
No, I was not. But I had problems because I wasn't, truthfully.
But you could teach him. No?
No, I could advise him, but the whole point of all this was that what I've learned and what most of us have learned has been really trial and error. And without that trial and error, it was just verbiage.
But
really.
your motivation was always, and I remember this, is like the rich kids, and let's prove them wrong, right?
Let's prove them fucking wrong.
And they're idiots.
Let's
and
fuck their parents.
Okay,
and prove them wrong.
Hold on. So
let's
now
finger bang their mom and fuck their sisters.
Now the tour stories are coming.
Let's be realistic. Now you have a son,
Yeah.
who's that guy, but you got to make sure he's not. You got to make sure that he's got this, and he's not.
Well, he's
the rich
not
kid.
exactly that guy, because although you do want to instill, he still has a little bit of a leg up on the other kids. Where
Well, that's
he has
what I was
access.
going to say. Is the balance.
But they still, when I walk into this thing, when I bring into the school and I show up in the cars and the whole shit, 100%, I'm like the most legal guy on the planet. Like.
Right.
100% they're looking at me like I sell crack. Right. 100%.
When really in reality you're an artsy guy.
I'm just an artsy guy.
And you, did it yourself.
Yeah,
your
like
way.
the guy from the school one of the guys from the school looks for me, and you might see this podcast, The Fat Fuck, and he's like, I'm like, hey, I'm like, what's up? He's like, oh, living the dream. I'm like, yeah, well, I guess we have different dreams.
Sure, Big's being miserable.
Because he's like, how come you're dressed like you're 17? I'm like, my man, you play baseball near my house, but we'll take this up to summer. Cool, not a school property.
Some people
player.
are from different planets, bro.
Bro, like but they look at him like he's just so far ahead on certain things because of the experiences, and then you wonder: is it right to hold him back? Is it right to push him forward? Like, because still, kids aren't as strong. Like, I only developed a stomach for this later on in life. Right. You're an 8-year-old, 6-year-old, 3-year-old being looked at differently.
By 13, 14, you knew that you were hanging around with certain people that had bread, and you were the guy that was like, I'm going to make my own.
Yes.
So your kid now has a little bit of bread, let's call it. How does he level up?
Yo, I tell him every day. He's like, yo, Dad,
no, he doesn't have anything.
You have money. I'm like, I have money, but you're poor as fuck, but bro. You are poor as fuck, dude. Like, don't get it twisted. My money, your money. Or it ain't ours. There's no we in me.
I think it's smart to instill that young, so he doesn't have that sense of entitlement and that chip on his shoulder that he's not fucking feeling accomplished, right? Later on in life, obviously.
Yeah. And my daughter looks at you and says no. It's like me looking at you and saying no. It's just no. There's no. There's no maybe. There's no. It's no. And like try to move me. It's just not. You know, my son's a lot more like his mother, but. My daughter, it's like, this is the line in the sand.
I like that.
I dare you to cross it.
I like
that.
That's cute. How old's your daughter?
I dare. She's not even 4. She's a cute. Fucking. Yeah.
A Cory Shapiro daughter sounds dangerous.
She
sounds like a boss that like could really hurt.
She is. She's really like. You know. And if you ask her, yo, who's the boss? Daddy's the boss. That's it. Not mommy. You know. Not that there's anything wrong with mommy, but daddy. That's it. Like. You know, I say go to bed. It's bed. That's it.
She learns that.
Yeah, she makes Jen sleep on the floor with her for 4 hours. Dead ass, like poor Jen sleeping on the floor at the bed because the kid told her to. And it's not even that she wants her to. It's that she wants to know that if she asks her to do it, that she will. And that's the best part about her because it's not. It's just about the game.
Psychological
She
warfare.
has no interest in the result. She just wants to know that...
playing chess.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All day. And she has 2 families fucking running. It is incredible. You know, and like kind of winking at me like, look, I got these fucking idiots, you know?
So you've done a lot.
Yes.
You've definitely, started from the shirts to the sneaker game to vintage eyewear to... real estate investments.
Yeah.
What's next for you outside of course, the family, which is the most important thing, health, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, the health thing,
what's your passion? What are you looking forward to right now? What's next on the agenda for you?
Just the kids really. Like, you know, I bought a country house, so I get to go up there every weekend. I'm like miserable if I don't.
Dope.
I just like kind of to live. You know, I was always the same person. There's never a change in my insanity. My insanity has been consistent from day one. Except now, fortunately, I'm able to fund my insanity. So it's a little bit more leveraged because if I want to get a fucking golf cart, I'm gonna get a golf cart and drive it around the street
My
until the
brother's
police
in
fucking
St.
get
Henry.
it.
You have like a tank around the building.
Yeah, I
there.
bought a war truck.
So
Yeah,
in
but
the
you have a
famous words of
tank
Nas, you're in your second childhood. Basically, you're
I
getting
am
to
in
do
my-
those things
Yeah,
that you
all
wanted
day.
to do and have fun.
Like some guy cut me off in a G-Wagon and gave me the finger, and I went out and bought a Unimog, a war truck, a 1973 battering ram. And when I see him on the road, I'm gonna one-way insurance, battering ram his fucking car. I'm gonna walk away from the shit and leave it there because it is what it is, you know?
Which leads me to a great segue. Crazy stories. Give me one or two crazy stories that you want to share. I'm not going to put you on there because we have a lot of crazy stories, but we ain't going to go there.
Yeah, because it's still not 7 years from...
No. I like this though, and let's end this off with like a good one that maybe no one's ever heard.
Man, I don't know.
Just like
I mean, I'm sure you have a ton,
know.
but something fun.
it doesn't have to even involve a celebrity. Just something that like we can end this
But
thing
to
with
me,
like
to me, the celebrity things aren't the
No,
fun
exactly.
part.
Fuck the celebrity
because
shit.
because they're, to me, like, they're regular people. I have better experiences with other people.
one that you tell like a PG version that's like one of your
Nah, fuck that. I want a barbecue story.
okay.
Like something you could tell at the barbecue, but that's still, we could put on
I
camera.
got a big grill, bro. Shit, I don't know, man.
All right, we're putting you on the spot. Don't worry.
No, I just
Cory, I
it's not,
appreciate
it's
it.
not,
Cory
it's
has a
not-
lot of stories.
It's not like on the spot, and like I don't really care to share it. I'm just trying to think like
Of one.
what is there to
We'll bring you back in a couple months or when
what
you're
is there
available
to,
and
to share. Yeah.
Oh, there's a lot. I'm sure like fucking a crazy dig, or when you went to go meet up with someone and fucking it didn't go the way you were hoping, or it went better than the way you were hoping.
So on the same trip in Florida, so my buddy Jesse, who owns F as in Frank, we went out to Florida and we found this girl on eBay who was selling glasses, and we went over to her house to do this dig. And to circle back on it, who's the guy again who sings "Throw Some D's on It"?
Rich boy.
Rich Boy, okay. Rich Boy's stylist. Yeah, this is a funny story. Rich Boy's stylist borrows these glasses from us. We send these glasses to the Mondrian. Okay. And I've never even been to a nice hotel except for at that point.
Mondrian's dope.
Yeah.
Good pull
And it was
bars.
nicer then than it is now. But I'd been to Fontainebleau for this thing with Ross, but the Mondrian. So send these glasses to the Mondrian. They lose the glasses. Okay. They lose the glasses.
Or maybe they pretend to lose the glasses. 'cause they
No,
want to.
I think they legitimately do. I'm freaking out. Manager of the hotel. Look, we would like to offer you 3 weeks. We'll give you 3 weeks worth of stay. We're so sorry. I can claim it on my insurance, but as our thing, we're going to give you 3 weeks of stay because that's the value of what you say the glasses or whatever.
Amazing.
Cool. We go and we stay at the Mondrian. First of all, as we're checking into the Mondrian, and I go upstairs with Jesse, they're like, "Hey, Mr. Shapiro, there's a package here for you." And I'm like, "Well, I didn't send the package for me." And it just happened to have been that they found the package and didn't realize it and delivered the fucking box up to the room. Wow. So we're square, and I got 3 weeks. So we go and we meet this girl, and we're staying at the Mondrian, and it's a business deal with this guy. And we walk into this house, and this girl is like a 20 on 10 hot from the bottom down, but she has a very, very small head, like a pinhead, and she's like
Beetlejuice style.
like Beetlejuice,
Right.
and I'm like holy shit.
What
And I'm
is
looking
this
at
human
Jesse,
being?
and I'm like, Jesse, what the fuck is
Why we have
this?
one of the head shrinkers
And I don't
here.
want to say something insensitive because I don't know if she just has a small head or if this is some disease, and I don't
What
want to get into
nationality
it.
was she? I'm just trying to paint a picture.
Jewish. Okay, she was Jewish.
Oh, smoking hot Jewish girl.
Smoking
with a
hot Jewish
pinhead.
girl,
Rare.
big tits, the whole shit,
Pinhead. Beetlejuice.
Okay, and so the father's sitting on a couch like this. He looks like an overgrown Larry David. He is swear to God, he's in a bathrobe with his boxers, and his nuts are hanging out.
Oh yeah.
His nuts are hanging
Classy.
out the whole time. She's got a small head. I am ripped, and all I want to do is leave with these glasses. But I'm talking to them very, very nicely, and this whole thing, like, everything's cool, whatever, no problem. Do this deal with it. I'm like playing like find the ace. Cool, I get the deal. Brings it out to the car. Pay him. I'm out. Calls us like 7-8 minutes later. He goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry, man." He's like, "I decided I'm not going to do the deal." I'm like, "Oh, well, I've already bought the stuff and we have it at FedEx. Like, we're gone. Like, so sorry. Yo, bring me my fucking glasses. And I'm like, bring you your glasses. What? Like, bro, they're at FedEx. Like, this
so he decides that he doesn't want to sell you the stock.
So I buy all the stock from him.
And he regrets
I like
it.
pennies on a dollar, but I still gave him like thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And he decides he doesn't want to do the deal, but I'm gone with it. I'm with Jesse. I'm in the car.
And fuck you. You already went to Florida to do this.
Yeah, I'm in Florida. So our buddy, our buddy Aaron Reed is turning 18 years old in Atlanta. So we're going to fly out to Atlanta for the birthday, come back, and then Jen's going to come meet me in Florida, and we're going to have a vacation and whatever. So we fly out. Now I'm staying in this hotel shit for free. Great. Never stayed in a hotel like this. And the whole thing's comped. I'm like, that's great. And I've had
3 weeks at the Mondrian's like,
but I'm not staying for 3
Gs.
weeks. Yeah, I'm like, at this point, I'm staying for a week, but I'm going to break it up and
I got
really work this. You know?
Yeah.
I can't even afford to have breakfast at the shit. Thank God it's comped.
It's like $25 a drink at the Mondrian.
Forget about that. Like toast is like $9.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not caking like that. So we get back to the thing at night, and I had a conversation with the guy. So he asked where we were staying and the whole thing. It was a friendly deal that we didn't fuck him. Yo, the guy, you know the chairs that are outside of the Mondrian? Like there's like that deck. The guy's sitting at the Mondrian. And I'm like, holy fuck.
How old? He's an old man?
He's like Larry David. He's
just
sitting
a crazy neurotic.
Bathrobe or
what? No, he's not in a bathrobe. Okay. He's in Bermuda shorts, in a white t-shirt.
Making sure.
And
waiting for you.
Waiting for me. And I'm like, oh my God.
You don't want
this dude is fucking waiting for me. And so
and the glasses are up in your room.
The glasses are 100% up in my room. I have not brought them to FedEx. He called me 7 minutes later, but fuck him. We made a deal. Fuck you. I paid you. So he's waiting there. And then, so I'm getting these calls from this other number. We're walking on like Washington or some shit, me and Jesse. And it's the girl, the pinhead. And she's like, yo, I'm coming and get my sausage back. And I'm like, what?
Sausage back?
I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I'm looking at Jesse. Jesse's like, dude. He's like, what the hell did you get us into? This is ridiculous.
Yeah, and Florida's a weird place already.
It's a very weird place, and I don't really know it like that. And like, I haven't hooked up with people
You're getting first class
who if I need
right
a call, can come and help me out. I'm still like the guy that was staying at the Hojo that somehow is at the fucking Mondrian, you know? And she's like, I'm coming to get our sausage back. And she's like, my dad's going to kill you. He's outside your hotel now. He's going to shoot you. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, Jesse,
we gotta get out of here.
What the fuck, bro? So we go back, we drive through the thing, and I'm like, tell the driver, I'm like, because they have this long driveway. I'm like, look, drive through the thing. I'm going to say hi to this guy. It could get hostile, but you keep on driving. It's a drive through, okay? We're good. I'm like, Jess, if there's a problem, we're going to the airport or somewhere. Like, we're out.
Yeah.
You know, you have your passport? He's like, no, but you don't need a passport to fly within the States.
Locally.
I'm like,
Yeah,
cool, I have
exactly.
my ID. We're good, you know? Drive through. I'm like, hey, man, what are you doing here? The guy goes to reach into his waist, like as if he has a gun. Before he can pull anything out, I'm like, go. So we go. And Jesse's like, what the fuck? Where are we going to go? And so we've also spent all of our money on this buy. And Jesse did another buy. So we have... And all of our shit's in the room. And we're like, fuck. Like, what to do? But fuck it. Let's go to the airport. So we stay at the airport. We go to Aaron's birthday. Do this whole thing with Aaron.
And then come back when it blows over, you figure.
Oh, yeah. Come back the next day. I'm going to meet Jen, you know? So Jen meets me at the airport.
He's not waiting outside still.
It's the next day, bro. It's 4 o'clock the next day. Fucking dude has not moved. Not only is he not moved, he has a couple drinks in front of him.
He wants to kill me.
This is Florida in a nutshell.
He wants to kill me.
He wants to kill me. And I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, what the fuck? And Jen's like, who's that? I'm like, tell Jen like the cliff notes. So we get out of the car, we go into the thing. I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I tell the security guards the story. They have to pack us up and escort us out through their garage and call the cops and this. And it was like
a nightmare.
Yeah. So that's our scenario. Now we've checked.
So you were earning your money because whatever you made on that load, you know, you almost got killed for it.
So now we're back at the Hojo. Okay.
We're back
at the Hojo.
Life is good at the Hojo.
I'm a homie at the Hojo.
Cory stayed at the Hojo.
Yeah, we stayed at the Hojo.
In the same room, bro.
Yeah.
We in Hollywood.
Oh, for sure.
This is your friends are here.
Oh yeah. So I'm at the Hojo. I feel good about it. It's in Surfside. It's like right between Miami and Bal Harbor. It's like some weird like little strip that they call Surfside for some reason. So I'm in the Hojo, and then I have a client come, And I can't say who the client is, but he's a very high profile. And he walks in like 10 deep. And
does he have a star on the top of his head?
no, he does not.
Just making sure.
He's referring to Birdman.
Yeah, no, he is not.
10 deep. I'm like,
no. But they're walking in 10 deep, and he wants to buy gazelles. And I'm like, yo, here's the gazelles. And the guy looks at me and goes, fuck did you say? I'm like, the gazelles. He's like, what are those? I'm like, they're gazelles. That's what you want. He said, didn't you hear right? I said, hear right. Yeah, you wanted the gazelles. No, I wanted the gazelles. So backtracking through this whole thing, in the 80s and 90s, bootleg gazelles were called gazelles.
Oh, that was the misconception.
So, yeah. But in his mind, he was dumb as fuck. Shit. That's the real shit. This little fucking fat Jewish kid is trying to hustle me, trying to sell me gazelle, and it gets wild. It gets fucking wild. They are all strapped. I'm fucking, and he's like, and it's like out of a movie, and I'm like, oh my God.
Are you trying to play me? You think I don't know the difference?
I'm like, not only am I going to die, I
over some bullshit.
I'm like, one life was cool yesterday. I'm like, but I'm going to die in a hojo. I'm going to be the Canadian kid that's going to get shot in a house.
You get whacked in a hojo over a petty glasses transaction.
And you were right, too.
And I'm right. And I'm not even trying to fuck the kid. And now I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, sir, can we please refer to the internet? Yeah. Like, and at the time, like the internet's also not as fast right now. So to pull some shit up like that, it's a bit of a feed,
It's an awkward moment.
Yeah, open the fucking computer. The computer has porno on it when it comes. The whole thing, it's like a mess, And I'm like, literally, I'm going to die at the fucking hojo over a fucking pair of glasses. And I just escaped Pinhead and the fat Larry David with his nuts out. I'm like, this is insane,
It's time to get out of Florida.
And I'm like, but if I win, this is all worth a lot of money. So anyways, the thing finally calms down, but that was crazy, and it's just been like, there's been a lot of crazy scenarios that we get ourselves into, partially karma, partially just because I think like I actually want to get into them.
Partially because I think people with your character attract
maniacs.
That
Cory,
vibe.
I got an idea.
Fucking maniacs.
Stay home with your kids, write a fucking book.
Yeah, right.
You got some things to say.
Well, I think we still have more chapters to make.
Round one.
I'll leave you with a more positive one, so it doesn't make. Fair. It's our website keeps on declining. We're in our Westminster office. My staff Eric's there. And my staff, Eric, goes, so whenever your address and your credit card didn't match, it declines on the website. And at the time, if you were making a purchase from out of state, you would, most of the time it would decline because it would show on the credit card, you're buying in Canada and you weren't really there. So naturally, like you would kind of contact the people and tell them, like, if it wasn't credit card fraud, you could just call up your credit card company, tell them where you're trying to make it, and they'll let it through. So this guy's trying to put through this order for like 20 grand, and 20 grand is a major order at this time. Putting it through some Arab name, and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck this is. Phone rings. We shouldn't have been at the office. I answer the phone. Hi, my name is so-and-so. I'm trying to put together a purchase, and I'm from Bahrain, but I live in the States, and this whole thing, and I don't know where Bahrain is at this time. And I don't
know now?
What? But I know now.
Okay, I'm not sure.
But I'm not really sure where it is.
Dubai.
I know, like, I get what part of the world it is, but I'm not really versed in that. And so I'm like, oh, tell them the spiel. Like, well, call your credit card company. Tell them you're trying to make the purchase. And then, so I'm sitting there with Eric, and I'm like, yeah, well, let's give it a couple minutes. Like, we shouldn't be here anyways. And if it goes through, it goes through. If it doesn't, it fucking doesn't.
And you're going to wait weeks before fucking sending out 30 grand of stock anyways.
20 grand or whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah.
Goes through. I'm like, 20 grand. I'm like, this is major. And at the time, the dollar's like 154. So it's like, it's really 30 something. And it's up
there.
Like, this is great, And so the guy calls back. He goes, oh, I'm a big glasses fan, and he's got this British accent and this whole shit. And he's like, do you have stuff that's not on the website? I really want to have a good glasses collection. Sure, I have tons of shit. So I look up his name, and I Google his name, and it says And I'm like, I don't know, probably was wrong. It says that he's either the king or the prince of Bahrain. And I'm like, doesn't make sense. He calls me back. Super Bowl's coming on. Black Eyed Peas are playing. Hey, would those happen to be your glasses on Will.i.am? Well, yeah, they would. Well, I would like them. How many colors do they come in? I don't know. 20? Yeah, I'll take 20.
What were they? What was
like
the
this
piece?
Porsche glass, right?
Okay.
I know a little bit about Porsche glasses.
Take the 20. Okay. How much are they each? I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, you're like
whatever the fuck they are. Yeah. I still don't know who the guys,
1,600, 1,200.
Another like crazy, I'm like, oh my God, this is great. So now we got to start catering to this guy. He's fucking for real. There's no.
I'm dropping 30, 50
So I look,
Gs.
I said, bro, I'm so sorry to have Googled you, but it's a high level transaction.
Yeah, you just want to do your back, like.
It says that you're the king of Bahrain. No, I'm not the king. I'm the prince. Okay. And
this is your number one rich guy of all time. That
and he's like,
this is your number one.
He's like, he's like, yeah, I'm in school. I go to school and blah, blah, blah. But it just goes to show you. And like, I ended up being his personal stylist and doing all this type of stuff for him. And he was like, actually,
you made friends afterwards.
Oh yeah, we were very close friends.
I bet you did.
But he but not on some crazy shit. He was like actually one of the nicest, genuine human beings on the world. Mm-hmm. But the point of it is that the success of the company has literally come from never taking anybody at like.
You're not catering.
Well, we are catering, but we're catering to everyone because you never know like who that person is. Sure. And it's the same thing when someone DMs me and they freak out that I'm writing them back. Well, like, I'm a human and like everybody's a human. And the point is that the company caters to humans. It doesn't matter whether you're the Prince or Diddy or Ross or Jay or whatever, or if you're just some kid who's like worked, for a month to be able to afford a $100 glass. The key to any company in current society is to treat everybody 100% the same. And with that, that's the recipe for success. And that's the more positive note without a guy's nuts hanging out and a daughter with big tits and a small head.
I couldn't have summarized this episode any better.
Right? Cory, you're the man.
Thank you for coming by, man. It was great catching up with you, my brother. You're definitely welcome back anytime you want to join us. It is what it is. My boy Cory, Vintage Frames in the building, the M.O.T. podcast. Your boy Bless, let me know. Keep it locked. Thank you. Peace.